Sonetta Studios. It don't get no better than on consciousness info. Sonetta TV7. You keep it hot 24/7. You got that Black Rose 102. Sonetta TV2. Yeah.
You are now inside Sonetta Studios, the House of Consciousness production. Black news presentation. Sonetta.
All right. Peace and blessings, family. Y'all already know what it is. This is your brother Sonetta, and I'm coming at you once again for today. I introduce y'all to this brother through the video yesterday, the day before yesterday. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Brother go by the name of Tahuti Forever. Okay. Tahuti Forever. And I want to bring this brother to you. I think that he's going to be a real good fit for the HOK. This brother is a student of Brother Jabari. We'll get more into it. He's coming with great, powerful information and research. I don't have the brother bio in front of me, but one day we'll get it and we'll go all the way in, man. Make no mistake about it, man. Y'all gonna love and appreciate this gem that we have in front of us. Okay, and so without any further ado, I bring to you Brother Tahuti Forever is in the building. Peace and blessings to you, my brother. How you doing, man? Hold on. All right. Peace and blessings, brother. How you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. Good to have you here with us this evening. I already know by bringing you in, the people is going to learn something. And remember, I told you, you have your own style, your own rhythm, your own flow, the way you do things. Now, let me remind you, you may not be used to YouTube the way it is going, but I want to let you know, you're going to learn. You're going to see a lot of hate. You're going to see a lot of black people. You're going to understand how sick black people can be when you bring the positive energy. You know, just because they may disagree with you on your information, you're going to see a lot of evil people. You already see the way they do Jabari just because they disagree, you know. So just be ready. This is the toughest environment to be in. And let me first ask you some questions before you get into your your presentation. Is that cool?
Good. No, that's cool, and I understand. I've been watching Sonetta Studios for a very long time. Without Sonetta Studios, it's not a certain thing that I would have even run across Jabari Ozazi. I ran across Jabari by watching your channel. So I want to big ups to you. Shout out for all the work that you've done in connecting people to the people who they resonate with. So I really appreciate you. I want you to know that first and foremost, that it's an honor being on this platform.
Thank you, brother. It's an honor to have you here as well. And yeah, you're gonna see black people are the most sickest people out here. That's a fact. Black people are sick, man. They won't even know you. They don't know nothing about you, but they will start bringing things towards you and saying things that you are, stuff like that. So I want to ask you, brother. First thing I want to ask you is, how did you come and get into the knowledge that you are into? How did all of that started?
So I was raised Christian. My whole life growing up as a youth, I was Christian. My mother was a pastor. She married the bishop. I was heavily into the Bible. I learned the ins and outs of the Bible, and I became a youth minister within our church. And I turned about 13, 14, 15. And one day there was a pastor that came to the church to do his presentation, and he kept repeating the same scripture, the same concept. He just kept repeating it over. I mean, he repeated it so often within maybe 10, 15 minutes. I was like, what is this guy doing? What he was saying was, you have to know that Jesus died for your sins and resurrected in order to be a Christian. And he continued to say that. And I'm like, yeah, of course. course. That's what we've always been trained to say. But he said it so often that I'm like, why is this guy continuing to repeat himself? And eventually it dawned on me that he's believing it. It's like he really believed this stuff. Like he believed the Bible and the stuff in it was historical. And up until that point, I always looked at the Bible as a cultural thing. Like this is what we do in our culture. This is how we love and connect to one another. We understand the scriptures and we can recite them to each other, but we know it's not like historical. So when he kept repeating that, it finally soaked into my brain that, oh, you have to believe it in your heart. And there's no way that's going to happen. I'm not going to believe this stuff. I know it, and I cannot speak so many scriptures verbatim, but I'm not going to believe it, right? So that was one of the wake-up calls that I had. And when I got older, moved out when I was about 16, my sister ended up passing. She ended up being shot in her heart. It's important that we say her name in our culture. Her name is Victoria Humphrey. She died in 2008. And at that time, it was a very serious thing for me to actually have an understanding of my truest spirituality. So I wrote a book. I wrote a book called Quantum Philosophy, which was the most intimate thoughts that I had between me and my highest self, the divine. And I published that book in 2011. So that was another aspect of me waking up, my sister passing, and me actually writing down the critical thoughts that I had as far as what is not found in the Bible. Because the Bible, it's a book. It's supposed to be historical, but there's not a lot of spirituality in the Bible. The Bible is a book of doctrine, a book of rules, regulations, and some historical concepts are in the Bible. Some parables are in the Bible, but there's not a lot of spirituality found in that book. Like you can't go to some place and say, well, this is a spiritual passage in reference to the spirit, or people are just waiting to be judged. And that's basically what the Bible discusses as a judgment type of a thing. And that doesn't resonate with me as an African. Doesn't resonate with the ancestors that gives me my downloads and information. So in 2017, I ended up taking my family to Jamaica. We were out in Jamaica for 4 months. During that period, they had a Independence Day celebration, and I decided to look into their history. And their history really was similar to the history of America, with Britain taking over, conquering them, and them have to become independent from Britain. And while I was searching that up, I ran across Dr. Ben on YouTube. And I'm like, this video is really fuzzy and it's an old video. I'm not sure why I'm watching it, but something told me, hey, just keep watching. It's gonna be important that I continue to watch this video. And of course, after listening to Dr. Ben, a whole different world opened up for me, a whole different area where I can indulge in my studies that actually resonates with me on a spiritual level. And Dr. Ben had passed maybe 9 months before that period. And it dawns on me that his energy was still able to connect with me. So I look at Dr. Ben as my very first ancestor, my closest ancestor. And he was the one who opened my eyes to African spiritual systems. Then I ran across Sonetta TV. And who was on Sonetta TV? Jabari Ozazi. Jabari has taught me every single thing that I know. I'm here. I have to reach out to Jabari. The honor that I have for him, you can't put into words. I have to reach out to him, say, Jabari, is it okay that I go ahead and proceed with the knowledge that you've given me? And now I'm here. I'm here, and I definitely want to present the information. And I appreciate the time, and I think we can go ahead and get it in.
All right. Thank you, brother. But let me ask you this. Speak to us about the importance of, why is it important to have a shrine of Ma'at in Phoenix?
Phoenix is a sleeping giant. there are a lot of African Americans here. Our culture here is not really directed in one way or another. So we really need direction. And the Shrine of Ma'at provides direction. It helps us to network. There's different type of Black people, right? We fall into a handful of categories. There's the house nigger, not to be rude, but there's a lot of us out here, Oreos. And these people are really anti-African, anti-Africa, anti-Black, all lives matters. Not saying all lives doesn't matter, but that's not the purpose of the phrase. And then we have the conscious people who study on their own, right? We have the conscious community, no new friends. They have their own take on information, and they don't know how other people are going to interpret what they believe. So they really stick to themselves. And to be honest, those people are also part of the problem, even though they are part of the conscious community, because the word community is a network. That means that I lean on my brother leans back on me, and we know we're going to stand up right. And when we see these conscious brothers and sisters and they're in their own study and they're not willing to open doors or to network, we need you to come out to our pop-ups. We have a network of people. We need you to come out. And those type of people who teach and preach and have practices against that, is detrimental to the whole movement. And then we have, the conscious brother who's actually got his boots to the ground, grassroots, and we're making those connections. And that's where I stand. We have a network of these people as well. We have a Black-owned bookstore who's constantly doing pop-up events, different events, giving Black people, Black businesses multiple opportunities, opening up spaces for them, just having a place where we can gather around. And I would definitely love.
Yes, I don't want you to go too long because I want to get through this. So I know you can speak, brother. That's what's up, man. I want to give the people time to see your joint. Is there some significant connection between the Phoenix Shrine of Ma'at, being that it is in the desert, and the fact that Kemet is also in the desert, brother?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. So we are in the desert. Kemet was in the desert. They had the river, the Hapi River, now known as the Nile, and they followed that river and they created the greatest civilization of ancient history. Phoenix itself, the name Phoenix, is actually a word from the Greeks, but it comes from Kemet. The name actually is Banu. So the shrine here is called Banu. We are an extension of the Shrine of Ma'at in Manhattan, Harlem. But there is a connection. There is a connection between Phoenix, the bird, the story, the Kemetic story of the Banu bird, and the fact that we are a desert. All that is significant.
Now, damn, you jumped ahead of my question, and you didn't even know. Speak to us more about the legend of the bird, the Phoenix, and how it ties to your city and how it goes all the way back to Kemet. See, because you brought up the Phoenix, and that was my next question. That's deep.
That is deep. So, yeah, when I first woke up and I first heard about Kemet, I started looking around the city, and I'm like, why do I keep seeing Haru? Why is Haru everywhere? Right? On our garbage cans, we have a symbol of Haru on our garbage cans. I'm like, why am I seeing Haru everywhere I go all of a sudden? And I never noticed it before because I didn't make the connection of the knowledge. But the phoenix bird is the bird that was called the Banu. It's a bird that is a symbol of resurrection, the same as Haru, who dies. And once it dies and turns into ashes, and then a new rebirth comes out of it, and it's birthed out of its ashes. So that is why we call the desert Phoenix, because it's hot. And we connect ourselves with the super hottest of fire. But yeah, there's a lot of different connections with the Phoenix, the word Banu, and Haru.
All right. So with that, man, I'm going to just let you go ahead and teach our people. I'm going to fall back and let you go in with your presentation, family. Stick to the TV screen, y'all. Stick to the YouTube screen. We're about to learn something. Remember, this is one of Jabari's top students in Phoenix. Peace and blessings. He have the Shrine of Ma'at out there in Phoenix. I'm sharing your screen right now. Everybody can see it. It's on you.
All right, fantastic. So the music that you hear come from some of the members from the Shrine of Ma'at called the Schaefer's. You can pick up the album. It's Kemetic Meditations, Temple Music. This is volume 1. This presentation is in reference to the sun and how the sun influenced.
We don't hear no music yet.
Oh, we don't hear any music? Okay, so you're not hearing the sound.
Mm-mm.
Well, it's fine. I'll just talk over it, but there is an album. It's a beautiful music. I'm not sure how to show the sound, but we'll go ahead and move forward. So this slide is discussing the difference between religion and the African spiritual system, the ancient African spiritual system. So as far as religion is really going to focus on a god or gods. Gods are always gods such as El, Zeus, Jesus, Serapis, or Odin. There's thousands and thousands of gods that we've created over time. However, in ancient times, African spiritual system, there was no such thing. God is a more recent development of the concept of deity or divinity. In ancient times, we conceptualized divinities as states or statuses. Now, these can be energetic, mental, emotional, or states of nature, which are all aspects of divinity. So when we're talking about statuses and states, or these are principles, right? These are something that's within us, within an individual, within nature, within a community. I wanted to bring up in this slide one of the oldest gods, the old Canaanite god, which is the god El, just so we can understand how these concepts propagated and went through from the African spiritual system all the way through to religion, to Christianity, to Islam. Africa influenced all of the modern day systems. So on this side, you'll see a song.
You're breaking up, brother. You're breaking up.
This is a song. Now, principles that they represent. So completion, righteousness, that's what Asar represents. And the Canaanites came and they used Asar to create their deity. Now, a deity is different than a principle. A deity is an outside being, spiritual or physical. They created El. So El is a recreation of Asar. That's why they look similar here. Now, the word El became an epithet. An epithet is a word that, a name that becomes a principle or an idea. So the name El became a principle, and that principle became divinity. So anything that people thought was divine became El. So this is how we get Elohim, El Shaddai,
Brother, you breaking up. Breaking up,
the word God.
You breaking up.
God that we call. Well, that's not good. How am I doing now?
It sounds all right now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
I hear you good.
So I was just fantastic. I'm just mentioning that El becomes part of the Christian religion. So in reality, if you're worshiping El Shaddai, Elohim, you're actually unofficially worshiping Asar, because Asar is what got into El, which translated into the word God or Elohim. So all Christians today, in one way or another, are still have the African ideologies within their belief systems. Now let's talk about the African spiritual system. Thus far we've been talking about religion and how like Jesus was invented and different gods. Prior to that, let me slow down a little bit. Prior to that, we had nature, right? We had principles. So the principle that this slide is in reference to really is Ra, which is creation, creator. Anytime you're making something, you're using your raw energy. You have Ma'at, which is balance, peace, reciprocity. You have Shu, which is the air. Tefnu, which is moisture. Ptah, Ptah, which is consciousness. And keep in mind that it's a range of principles that they represent. Ast, which is nurture. Asar, which is righteousness, completion. Haru, which is heroism, right? Geb, which is the earth, and Tahuti, which is intelligence. So nature affects us. We're affected by nature. We are mostly water. The sun is what creates precipitation, is what creates photosynthesis. So this is a physical effect on us, right? This is not something that we're just worshiping without any actual physical effect on us. It's not a worship, it's an adoration. We have respect for certain principles that you find in nature. I'll go ahead and move forward. So the principle that this slide is in reference to is Ra. And again, Ra is creation. We also have Amen Ra. Amen means hidden. So when you put Amen in front of Ra, you're saying the hidden creator. The hidden creator is basically an understanding that everything that is in the universe is here. It was created. There's something that created it, and we don't have sufficient information to delve into it. We haven't seen the face of what put the unmovable mover, right? Now, based on our culture, based on the African culture, the way we moved, we taught through storytelling. We taught through creating myths. We taught science through talking about the Neteru, about nature. Nature, the Neteru. That's all the same principle. So this slide talks about Nut. A lot of people said that Ra was the ultimate God. This is incorrect. Ra is not a God. It's a principle of creation. And Ra is not the ultimate, being that Nut actually swallows Ra every day. And Nut, Ra flows through her body every day, every night, and she gives birth to Ra in the morning. When you look here, you see that there are 24 processions representing 24 hours. So this is one day. So Ra is born, goes through the day, is swallowed by Nut, and the cycle begins the next day. So this is mythology. This is mythology. However, this is also science. This is a teaching tool so we understand what 24-hour day is. Some say Nut is the sky. Some say Nut is the heavens. And this is all true. However, Nut is much bigger than just the sky. If you see how they depicted Nut, you see the sun within her, but you also see other stars, many, many, many other stars. And the way she is arched over, that is showing that she's representing the arch of the Milky Way galaxy. So she's much larger than just the sky. And as the sun moves through the Milky Way galaxy, it describes exactly what our ancestors were discussing when they put Nut into that mythology. So I'll go ahead and move forward. So Ra, the concept of Ra is the creation of all gods. And this presentation will definitely get into that. But the relationship between Geb and Ra or the sun and the earth is all that we're really talking about. This is not something spooky. We're only talking about the relationship between the sun and the earth and how that impacts us on this planet as a people. Now, because you can't hear this and I can hear it, this is Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he's actually speaking about the different elements and how the elements of the universe is aligned with the elements of our body. You know, it's a one-for-one correlation: hydrogen, helium, oxygen, carbon. It's a one-for-one trade-off between the universe and within our body. Neil deGrasse Tyson ends this by saying, "We are one with the universe." And the reason why I brought that up is because this is what we've always been saying. The universe is within us, and we're one with the universe. Baba Haru created a ceremony where called the opening of the way. The opening of the way is a way for us to acknowledge the cardinal points, and we call forth the energy and the nature of all four cardinal points, and we say that that is within us, and we are one with it. And that's called the opening of the way. If you ever seen us do any rituals, it's normally going to begin with the opening of the way, and that's just an acknowledgement again that the universe is one with us, and we are one with the universe. And this screen, if I wish you guys could have heard how Neil deGrasse Tyson broke it down, but it is a scientific fact. This slide is going to discuss a little bit more in depth about the sun, about Ra, and how it progressed over time and how it affects us today. So in the morning, here we call it Keper. Keper is a transformation, a rebirth. So Kepera. So today we say morning. Back then we'd say Kepera. That's when the sun goes from below the horizon to above the horizon. It's a transformation from darkness into light. Now we had in our mythology, the sun was the hero. The sun is associated with many different Neteru. It's associated with Amen, Ra. It's associated with Aten, Haru, Asar. These are different netures that we associate with the sun. But basically, the sun is the hero that defeats the darkness. In the morning, and within our mythology, Haru defeats Set. That's what's happening, and that's why the sun is rising. Again, this is something that is scientific, something that's measurable. At noon, what we call noon today, we say Aten Ra. Aten is when the sun is at its zenith, at the highest point of Aten, right? And then we have Amen Ra. Amen means hidden creator also. So when the sun dips below the horizon, the sun, we can no longer see the sun. So we're calling it Amen Ra. Amen Ra is also the fullness of it, the completion of it. Today we call it sunset. So we have morning, noon, and sunset. What's very interesting about us saying sunset is that set, this is set here. Set is a nature, the nature of darkness, the nature of chaos. So when we're saying sunset, we're still saying what we would have been saying in ancient times as far as it's about to become dark. It's evening, darkness is coming. In our mythology, the evening is where Set defeats Haru. So our mythology has a purpose. It's not just a story that sounds good. We're actually teaching principles in our mythology. It's basically, darkness versus light. And at noon, there's a shared darkness and light. Yin Yang is one of these type of principles. There's darkness and there's light. Today, when we see Seth, we see it progress in movies. The word Sith is nothing more than Seth. This is where the concept of the Sith Lord comes from. And I'll go ahead and make this point so you don't think I'm just making it up. In the Star Wars movies, the hero name was Luke Skywalker. George Lucas is the person who invented Star Wars. He created the concepts in Star Wars, and he studied Kemet, or ancient Egypt. So he studied these principles and created his ideas of his movie based on these principles. Luke Skywalker is George Lucas. Lucas is where the name Luke comes from. And there's layers to it. Like they say, Luke also means light. Either way, Luke is going to be in reference to the creator, which is George Lucas, or light. Now, today, the newer movies, we have a new hero, and her name is Rey, as in sun ray. So we're still talking about darkness versus light. Now, the name Skywalker, we're talking about the sun, how it walks across. If you watch the arrow, walks across the sky. This is what George Lucas was referring to when he named his hero Skywalker. He's referring to the sun walking across the sky. So that's where you get Luke Skywalker. Now, there's 4 movies where Rey is now the hero, and at the end of the last movie, you'll see Luke Skywalker. He evaporates, he dies into the sunlight. So he basically becomes the sun. And the very final few seconds of that movie, they ask Rey, what is her last name? Rey decides to adopt the name Skywalker. So it becomes a full circle in the movie. So the whole concept of the Force, all these informations comes from Kemet. Chewbacca is actually one of our ancestors. He's one of the pharaohs of Kemet. His name is Chewbacca. We have the Chewbacca stone. We understand that he's using these names and he's telling the story based on our ancestral mythology. So that's Rey Skywalker, full circle. And in more modern times, you have Agent Smith. Agent Smith is a representation of the darkness. Neo from the Matrix. Neo from the Matrix represents the light, the hero, the heroism. He's Haru. And this is one that balances Haru as equaled as his darkness. And they named him Smith. So there's Seth, Sith, Smith. There's a reason for that. It's a callback to our ancestors. I'll go ahead and progress to the next slide here. I just wanted to bring this slide in. A lot of people are unaware. So you had the Cain and Abel story, which is Cain kills Abel. Cain has a few children. All of Cain's children dies in the flood. There's no direct lineage from Cain's children. They all died in the flood. I mean, there could have been some mixing of blood not into Abel, because Abel didn't have any children. But Genesis 4:25, it reads, Adam knew his wife again and bare a son and called his name Seth. So here's Seth in the Bible. For God said, she had appointed me another seed instead of Abel, whom slain slew. So after Cain kills Abel, they have another son here, Seth. And Seth gives birth, and his lineage is the lineage that makes it into the ark. So everybody today is actually a descendant of Seth. They're not a direct descendant of Abel. And some of Cain's blood could have mixed in, of course, but no one hears about Seth. They don't teach about Seth because it's a callback to Kemet. They don't want to see how Kemet got into the Bible. So they don't really teach about who is supposed to be our direct descendant, but we know all about Cain and Abel. And again, Cain and Abel is a story of one brother killing another brother, and that is a similar story to the Seth and Asar story, which is the one brother killing another brother. So it's the same story. This is the elder story that got into the Bible. So I just want to make mention to that really quick. We'll move forward. This slide is discussing calendars, calendar making, and how calendar making kind of influenced invaders to create their own gods and their own beings based on our influences. So we created a calendar with 360 plus 5 Palomino days. Now, what does that mean? 360 is the degrees that makes one circle. And we were supreme mathematicians, so we understood what degrees were. We understood 360 degrees makes a circle. So as we described a year, we wanted to describe it as a perfect circle. However, we understood by experimentation and just by watching the sun that there's actually 365 days. So what we did is we created a mythology. We created 5 holidays at the end of the year where we introduce the Neteru and we celebrate the Neteru on these 5 days. And that comes at the end of the 360. So there are 365 days in the Kemetic calendar. This is the Wheel of Dendera. The Wheel of Dendera here is where the zodiac comes from, right? You'll see every single aspect of the zodiac, all the characters within the zodiac, within the circle of the Wheel of Dendera. Now, this is a larger calendar. It's a representation of 26,000 years. It's a celestial year. This is when the sun goes through all the different zodiac signs. So we're talking about much greater than 12 months. We're talking about 26,000 years. Now, this is what happened. This is when the Romans came in and the Nordic people, the Vikings. This is when the Greeks came in. And what they did is they heard our mythology, they learned from us, and they decided to take it a step further, and they took it a step in the wrong direction. Today, when we're saying Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, these vibrations, these frequencies, these words that we're using are actually a chant and a callback to Greeks and the Romans. So the sun is where we get the word Sunday from. It's the sun's day. The moon is where we get the word Monday from, and it's represented by the god Lunis. Mars is represented by a god by the name of Tuis, and this is where the word Tuesday comes from. Mercury is represented by Woden. Now, Woden is Thor's father. We know Thor. Thor is a Nordic god, and his father name is Woden. Now, Woden in different languages, name is spelled in different ways. It was spelled Godin or Godin. Woden, Godin. Today we call him Odin with just the O. But this is said that the first time the word El, the word El is a principle meaning divinity. It started to become the word God. This is the first time we use the word God was in reference to Woden or Godin or Odin. It's Godin shortened just to God. So that became an epithet as well. Just like El became the epithet of divinity, the word God became an epithet for divinity. And that's still the word that we use now is God. But this is where the word Wednesday comes from. It's actually Woden's day. Jupiter is Thor's day, right? Thor's day is represented by Thor. So Thor is connected to Jupiter, and this is where we get Thor's day. Fira is where we get Friday from, and it's connected to Venus. So it's Fira's day, right? Fira is Thor's mother and Woden's wife. Saturn was its own deity of ancient times. They can see Saturn. So Saturday is it's connected to Saturn. It's Saturn's day, right? So we're speaking these words and we're not understanding that these frequencies, these ideas are controlling us to a certain extent. It's programming our thought process. And the only way we can defeat these programming is by getting back to our African roots, our African ways, so we can get out of the indoctrination. The language that I'm speaking right now has certain tones that doesn't belong to me as an African person. So we have to get back to our own languages, our own mental concepts, so that we can deconstruct some of the things that's been controlling us. Here we're talking about the months. And what's really interesting is these months are associated with Greek gods as well. Down here, you got Julius Caesar and Augustus Caesar. These are people who also created the calendars. And what I wanted to point out here is that when they created the calendar within the 12 months, it was an error. Our calendar had 365 days. We understood that of leap year, we actually have a full, complete leap year to account for the time of 365 plus 1/4. Here, they're off by 2 months. What do I mean by saying they're off by 2 months? So sept in Greek is 7. Octo in Greek is 8. Nov in Greek is 9. And dec in Greek is 10. So if you notice, December means 10th month, but it's actually the 12th month. We know December is the 12th month. November is the 11th month, but it should be the 9th. October is the 8th month, but it should not the 8th month, but the 10th month, but it should be the 8th. So based off of what they learned from us, they're trying to take steps, but they're going in the wrong direction. And creating and inventing deities was one of those wrong directions. So this is affecting us today. This is not something that just happened in the past. This is actually something that affects us in our day-to-day lives as we go to work. So we all take Sunday off from work. Most people take Sunday off from work. And that was actually a decree given by Constantine, who was a sun worshiper. He worshiped the sun. He said, hey, on this very old day of the sun, let's make the magistrates and the people residing in the cities rest. And all the people that are in the workshops, let the workshops be closed. That's why we take off Sunday. So we are being influenced, and our culture is the Greek and Roman culture. The only way to get past that is by going back to our African ways.
So, you teaching, brother. You teaching.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So this slide is in reference to the Bible. I've separated the paragraphs based on the Old Testament and the New Testament. For hundreds of years, foreigners lived in Kemet, learning the values of Ra, which is creation or the sun. After these foreigners who we now associate with the Hebrews were expelled from Kemet, they named their religious book the Torah, meaning teachings or the law. The Torah is a book about God that plagiarizes Kemet with the word Ra right in the title, Torah.
Now, hey, hold on. Did I just hear you say that the Bible, that the Torah is a book that plagiarizes God, Ra? Say that one more time, brother.
Yes, sir. The Torah is a book about God that's a plagiarization of Kemet. So even within the narratives of the Bible, they themselves say that the Hebrews came into the nation of Egypt or Kemet as 12 tribes.
I want you to be a little careful, being that you are Jabari's top student. They're gonna try to come after you. The Hebrews, they're gonna think they can get a W with the.
Well, I'm not even gonna say anything that
I'm not gonna brag about trying to beat up Jabari's student. You know, so be careful when you mention the Hebrews. Now they dangerous, brother. Go ahead.
Well, you know, I'm mentioning the Hebrews in a context of an ancient people. I understand there's a
no, that's all right. Mention them. As long as you're teaching the truth, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, as far as the Old Testament, okay, what I wanted to describe is that even within the narrative, they say themselves that they went in as 12 families into Egypt, and then their population swelled into 2 million people. And how do you get this swelling over 400 years? You have to integrate with the people that are there. So their lineage, according to, just understanding the narrative of the Bible, you would assume that the lineage of the Hebrews are going to include the ancient Kemetic people as well, because they would have to mix in order to grow into those numbers. But the language, the alphabet of the Hebrew, the biblical Hebrew is how this book was written. It was written in biblical Hebrew. When you look at the letters of biblical Hebrew, it actually comes out of Kemet. So the letters of Hebrew derives from the Phoenicians, which derives from the hieroglyphics or the metric neter. Now, the second paragraph, hundreds of years after the foreigners left Kemet, the Greeks fashioned theological concept of Jesus based on the historical mores, at which point they assigned the writings of a conclusion to the Torah, which we now call the New Testament. The New Testament is written in Greek, so we're not even talking about the same language, and we're not even talking about the same year. We're talking about 200 years after at least 200 years after the Old Testament was written, maybe even 800 years. So today, the Torah plus the New Testament is called the Bible, which gets its name from the land of Byblos. A lot of people don't understand that Byblos is actually an ancient port, an ancient city, an ancient Kemetic outpost. So when you're saying Bible, you're still referring back to a Kemetic outpost, an Egyptian outpost of Byblos. Now, at the time the Bible was written, Byblos was ruled by Kemet, and the Kemetic mythology, Byblos is where Aset located the body of Asar. So we're not getting into some of the mythologies, but if you knew a lot of the Kemetic mythologies, you'd understand what I'm talking about. You can go to my channel, Tootie Forever. The mythologies are on there. I explain those in depth. You see Jabari Ozazis and Baba Haru speaks about the mythology themselves. But yes, Byblos is a very important port in the ancient Kemetic mythology, and it is associated with Asar, who is based on our mythology, does get resurrected. So it does tie into the Bible. It does tie into Jesus Christ because he's also supposedly a resurrection story. All these stories are tied into ancient African traditions. So let's talk a little bit about Byblos. Basically, this is Byblos here. This is what it would have looked like in ancient times. It's towards the Middle East. So this was a mixing of cultures, but it was ruled by Kemet during the time of the writing of the Bible and during the time of the story that would have taken place in the Bible. I think that's all I really, the reason why it was called Byblos. Byblo means paper. It's a Greek word that means paper. At this port, papyrus was taken from Kemet and brought here, and we sold papyrus that created the paper. So papyrus just means paper. And the Greeks called papyrus Byblos. And this is why this is where the Bible gets its name from. So the physical aspect of the Bible is Kemetic. That's basically what I want you to understand. Not just the words in the Bible, but how it came to being and how it got its name. So now we spoke about the physical aspect of the Bible. This slide is going to go into more detail about what's written in the Bible as far as its narratives and its concepts. So we understand that the physical book is Kemetic, comes from Kemet, comes from Byblos. Its name comes from Byblos. But what does it say? Malachi 4:2. But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings. Now, the Son of Righteousness, this is a double entendre. I want you to look at the word son, S-U-N, of righteousness. So this is not just talking about the offspring of righteousness. It's also talking about the Son itself, the physical Son. Now, Jesus is not going to represent this concept because Jesus, one, doesn't have wings, is not supposed to be represented by the Son. However, there is a concept in the Neteru that represents exactly this. We have Haru, heroism, right? Heroism or Haru does have wings. He is here to heal. He is here to save. He is the savior. And in our mythology, he does resurrect. And also, more importantly, Haru is the son, the physical son, offspring of righteousness. If you remember, I explained earlier that one of the Neteru is the Neteru of righteousness. Let me go back to it. This is the father within our mythology of Haru. This is Haru's father. And he's that you find in the Bible. There's a reason why that double entendre exists. It's a direct reference to the ancient Kemetic ways, principles, concepts in the Neteru. So that double entendre is talking about the son of righteousness, the offspring of righteousness that's represented by the physical son. There's no reason for that to be in the Bible other than that fact. So we want to go ahead and pull up Malachi 4, verse 2, King James Version. This has not been translated, has not been altered in any way. So if you pull it up on Google, pull out your Bible, it will say these exact words: the son of righteousness, that double entendre. They're talking about Haru. That's the son of righteousness. Psalms 84:11, for the Lord God is a son. So God is still representing himself as a sun in the shield. This can be seen as a metaphor. That's fine. We just want you to acknowledge that even in the Bible, God represents himself as the son, sun. Psalms 27, the Lord God is my light and my salvation. Again, light and
salvation. You cracking the code now, bro. You cracking the code right now.
I'm glad I was able to be on here to slow it down a little bit so I can actually get into more depth in the last video that we did. So we're still talking about the light and salvation. And we understand that in the Kemetic mythology, the sun, physical sun, defeats the darkness, right? That's within our mythology. And the sun is associated with Haru, this person, his father Asar, Aten, Amen. There's a lot of different Neteru because the sun has more than one aspect. There's more than one aspect, more than one property. The sun has many properties, and different properties is going to be representing different natures or different Neteru. Revelations 22:16, I'm the root and the offspring of David, the bright morning star. So we're still saying that, the God of the Bible is a star. The day star rises in our heart. So there's many scriptures in the Bible where Jesus or God is referring to himself as the physical son. So this slide are even more bigger connections to Kemet, and we understand how it transferred and got into the Bible because the narrative of the Bible states that the Hebrews or the Israelites were there in Kemet and they soaked in this knowledge. They soaked in this knowledge hundreds of years before they wrote the Bible. So we understand how it got into the Bible. Revelations 3:14. I want you to acknowledge 3:14 and 14:3. I see those numbers, and it's like these numbers were meant to be stacked on top of each other. There's a reason for that. It says, unto the angels of the church of the Laodiceans writes, these things says the Amen. Now, Amen is speaking. Amen has the ability to speak. If I talk to a Hebrew Israelite and I say, hey, what is Amen? They might say, hey, Amen means so be it. So be it doesn't have an ability to speak. In the Bible, it says Amen has the ability to speak. So that can't be the answer. We can't be talking about so be it. That doesn't work in this sentence. So who is Amen? Amen is the faithful and the true witness. Amen is the beginning of the creation of God. And that's what this whole slide is talking about. We're talking about how God became in creation, how people interpreted the Necharu and created different gods. Hosea 13:4. Yet I am the Lord thy God from the land of Egypt, and thou shalt know no God but me, for there is no Savior besides me. So God is Amen from the land of Egypt. And again, these words have not been changed. If you pull up the King James Version, this is what it says word for word. Now, Christians have changed these words around to make it fit their belief system. There's different alterations, there's different Bibles that says this in a different way, but if you look up the King James Version, it's going to say these exact words. So I'm not changing anything. So we're going to get in a little bit into Catholicism. In Catholicism, you see depictions of white Jesus, and a lot of times you see the halo around his head, right? You always see these images of white Jesus with this halo around his head. Well, where does this halo come from? The halo comes from Helios, which is a Greek god. So this goes into Jesus, right? It creates the images for Jesus. But it is understood that this right here is the sun. These are the sun rays emitting from his head. So when they use this imagery of Helios to create the halo, we're still talking about the sun. We have not changed our motives. We have not changed direction. Jesus is still represented by the sun. And the last time we were here, you were talking about Aten. So I don't have the images of Aten, but the images of Aten will also have the rays of the sun coming down. And we're understanding that Aten is where they got the concept of Helios and why we have the sun rays representing divinity. We're really talking about Aten. As a matter of fact, this image here looks a lot like the image of Aten. Aten Ra, right? We'll go ahead and move forward.
Yeah, let me show you right quick why you're already contradicting a lot of Muslims and a lot of Abrahamic faith people who followed the Bible. Because you said that God was created and you showed it. You showed it even in a book and in a scripture. So that right there is powerful in itself, that God was created. And I said that many times, that man created God. I've said that many times, you know what I'm saying? And you breaking it down. Go ahead, brother.
Most definitely. So we're talking about December 25th. You know, people associate December 25th with Christmas, which is really, really weird. It's outrageous because Christians are not supposed to celebrate December 25th. This is a time of the year that the ancients celebrated because the sun, S-U-N, is doing something very special on December 25th. So we created celebrations, and those celebrations have been done for thousands of years prior to the concept of Jesus Christ even being born through Mary. So before Jesus was born through Mary, even though we understand he wasn't born December 25th, we were already celebrating this date. We have a myth about Santa Claus. Santa Claus comes through, and Christmas Eve, he delivers all these presents to all the kids of the world, and he's riding these reindeers across the sky. Now, we understand reindeers do not fly. This is a myth, right? But that's not the reason for December 25th. That's a fairy tale that we tell our kids. So I wanted to get into the Christmas tree and why Christians are not supposed to be celebrating this. And I understand there's a lot of belief systems who've completely gotten rid of a lot of religions. They call it, a lot of holidays, they calling it pagan. This is not, it does go into the Greeks and the Romans, Saturnalia, but prior to that, right, we were still celebrating it based on nature, based on the things that the sun is doing in the sky in our celebration of the sun. Here, it says, says the Lord. This is Jeremiah 10:2-4. So go ahead and pull that up on your phones. Jeremiah 2:4. Thus says the Lord, lean not on the ways of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of the heathen, for the heathens are dismayed at them. For the customs of the people are in vain, for they cut a tree out of the forest, and the work of the hands of the workmen with an axe. They deck it with silvers and with golds, and fasten it with nails and with hammers so it doesn't fall over. So what this is talking about is this Christmas tree. We deck it with silvers and golds. We put all kind of ornaments and things on it, and we fasten it on the bottom so it doesn't fall over. That's what it said. And the Bible is saying, do not do these things. I'm going to show you another scripture in the Bible where it directly says, do not do anything that was done in Kemet, in ancient Kemet. It's going to be more direct. And I'm going to show you that slide in a little bit. But for now, we want to talk about this Christmas tree and the fact that we were celebrating this holiday way before Jesus was created or invented. The Christmas tree is a pine tree. There's no other tree. There's several different types of Christmas trees, right? But they're all pine trees. There's several different types of pine trees. Now, the reason why the Christmas tree must be a pine tree is because the pine is an ancient symbol going all the way back to ancient Kemet, going all the way back to Asar. Here it says Osiris, the staff of Osiris. It's only because I got it off the internet. And nowadays, we don't use our African language. We have to use the Greek version. The Greek version of Asar is Osiris. That's a totally different tone. That's a totally different vibration. It makes me feel different when I use the Greek word, when I already know that, in Africa, we call them Osiris. We call them Asar. It feels different for me knowing I can use our own tone, our own tongues. So this staff has the pine cone on top, and this is Asar's staff. Over the years, it did progress into different cultures. It progressed into the Assyrians. You see the pine cone here in his hand. Here's another pine cone here. Bacchus also has a staff at the end with the pine cone. Dionysus has a staff. The biggest representation of a pine cone for spiritual purposes is still today at the Vatican. Originally, it was the staff of Asar. This staff you can see as the Christmas tree. This and that is just the same thing. This is a representation. Well, this here is a representation of that. And you're not supposed to celebrate it. It just told you don't do it. And this is a scripture more direct, saying exactly what I'm explaining to you. This is Leviticus 18:3. After doing of the land of Egypt. Egypt is Kemet, the land of Kemet. We call it Egypt today. That's a Greek word, right? I've already explained that we want to use our African tongue. We want to say Kemet when we're referring to the ancient city of our people. Today is fine. We can call them Egyptian because that's not our people. But here we want to call it Kemet because that's what it's referring to. So it says, after doing of the land of Kemet, wherein you dwelled, you shall not do. And after doing of the land of Canaan. So basically, the Israelites at this point is getting a direction from their God. God is telling them, hey, you lived in Kemet for a long time. Don't do their practices. Do not follow after them. And he also this scripture also brings up Canaan because the Israelites originally were Canaanites. The Israelites were originally Canaanites, and we're talking about the narratives, right? We're talking about different narratives. Historically, we have lack of evidence, right? There's a lack in evidence. We know Abraham comes from Ur, but there's a lack in evidence. However, the scriptures do say that the Israelites went back to their native land. One of the things I want you to understand is during the Exodus, when these Israelites were running from Egypt or Kemet, they were running to Canaan. Canaan was a territory of Kemet. So the narrative makes zero sense. You can't run from Kemet to another territory of Kemet. You know what? I could go on this, but I'm going to go ahead and move forward. Just like Santa Claus riding across the sky, December 25th, with his reindeers, we see this passage in the Bible saying exactly the same thing about Jesus. Jesus is going to come, crack the sky, and he's going to be riding these horses with all his troops. We know horses don't fly. Reindeers don't fly. Horses don't fly. And that's not even what we're really discussing here when we're talking about these different dates of December 25th. Is the reason for the season because it is the birth of the sun. This is correct. December 25th is the rebirth of the sun based on our ancient African spiritual mythologies. It is the rebirth of the sun. Again, I'm not going to get full depth into the mythology. You can go to the channel Tootie Forever and you can see Jabari Ozazi and you can see Baba Haru get in depth into the mythology, but I'll go ahead and just touch on it really basically here. December 25th marks an astrological event where the Earth's orientation to the sun begins a new cycle. Again, we're just talking about the relationship between the Earth and the sun, and now we have a new cycle. This event today is known as the winter solstice. Winter solstice, that's Greek meaning sun still. The winter solstice is when the sun performs a hat trick by seemingly duplicating the same course it made on December 21st, 3 consecutive days in a row. So in general, on any other day, the sun moves. If you go outside and you look at the sun and you mark where the sun is at the same time each day, let's say you mark it at 7 o'clock in the morning on a piece of paper, the next day the sun would have moved 1 degree. The day after that, the sun would have moved 1 degree again. The solstice is when you'll go outside and you'll see that the sun did not move. When you make the mark, you'll make the mark in the same place at 7 o'clock in the morning. That's because the sun's trajectory is exactly the same by our eyes. It doesn't move enough for us to see it. And it does that starting December 21st. It also does it. So December 21st is the first day it tracks. December 22nd is the first time it repeats the way its route. December 23rd is the second day it repeats its route. And December 24th is day number 3 where it repeats its route. Now, what did our ancestors say when we saw, hey, the sun is repeating itself? We said the sun was still. Solstice, sun still. It did not change its route. Again, this is something physical. This is something measurable. This is not something spooky. And then on December 25th, the sun moves again 1 degree. So we have a mythology that surrounds that. Again, we taught through mythology. We taught through nature. We're looking at the sun. We understand the sun is a representation of heroism. We associate the sun with Haru, Asar, Aten, Amen. So the sun, we said when it didn't move for those 3 days, that the sun was dead. It was dead for a total of 3 days, and it resurrects. It's reborn December 25th. So the solstice is in reference to the rebirth of Asar and Haru on December 25th. Now, what I want you to understand, the sun does not actually die. You can't go outside on December 21st and see the sun die. This is a mythology. Why is that important? That's important to understand when we see Jesus Christ dying and resurrecting after 3 days, that it's not something that everybody recognized by looking at the sun. It's something that a specific people spoke about in myth, right? This is a cultural thing. They invented this idea based on what they saw and as a way to teach. So if you're in a different continent, a different culture, you might look at the star and never say that the sun dies. So the only reason why Jesus dies for 3 days and is resurrected after 3 days is because of the myth that went into the Bible. If the Kemetic people never invented that myth about the sun, you would never have a Jesus dying for 3 days. So this is my last slide, Saw. We're going to talk about this slide really quick. This is the last slide. But what we want people to understand that it's not a historical event. December 25th is not in reference to something that you can't measure. It's something that you can go outside. You can measure the sun yourself. The sun has been moving across the sky in the same way for millions of years, and it's going to continue to move across the sky in the same way for millions of years. The only reason why we have gods today is because conquerors and foreigners came into our mystery systems and decided to change it and adopt it to their own culture. They Hellenized it, or they stole it. They took it, they usurped it, they took it for themselves, changed it up, and next you know, we have different gods, physical beings instead of states, instead of statuses within ourselves. The status of Ma'at. Ma'at means balance, reciprocity, justice. It's a goal to achieve. Everyone is not always in balance. If you're not in balance, then you're not in Ma'at. The goal is to obtain balance. And once you have obtained balance, then you are Ma'at. These are principles within yourselves. These are principles of nature. There's not, I was telling us, Sarnetta the other day, if a spirit, according to the way Christians believe in spirits, if a spirit walked into the room, he might not have a physical body, might just be an essence, but he has some type of a shape to him. You can point to him and say, hey, look, I just saw that essence. I saw that spirit. That is not what the Necharu are. The Necharu are not an outline of a physical being or a physical spirit. It is a concept or a principle that you can relate to in the sun as the creation, how the sun creates photosynthesis. Without that, we wouldn't be on this planet. Precipitation, right? Cleaning the water, making sure that we can get drinkable water. So I'm going to go ahead and end this by talking about this last slide. In the Asar and Haru myth, when Asar dies, his spirit is resurrected as Haru, right? December 21st, the sun is dead, and December 25th, which is 3 days later, Haru is born. How do we know it's on this date? Is because we're talking about the motion of the sun. These are associated with the sun. So while we're looking at the motion of the sun, we know the sun does this special thing on these particular days. And that's what this mythology is discussing. So it makes sense that December 25th, because that's the day in which our ancestors, that's the day which the ancestors divine, the sun resurrects. So we understand the connection. And here, my final little thing I want to talk about is, this is really, really brief. This is just an overview. I learned so much from Jabari Ozazi, the knowledge that he presents. And I'm going to be honest, Jabari presents a lot of information on Sarnetta TV. However, if you're not in Kemetic Ascension, when he actually dives deep into the ancient historical facts, the artifacts, the culture, the mythology, if you're not there learning about the primary sources, he doesn't bring anything. To be honest, he just scratches the surface when he comes on. When he comes on, that's not the best that you're going to get when it comes on to its teaching. The best that you're going to get is by coming on to Kemetic Ascension and listening to and seeing his presentations. He does this bi-weekly. And he always brings forth this beautiful information. And if you heard what I hear, I retain so much and I go out and I study so much, but if you heard what I hear, none of the presentations, anybody who's ever come, Israelites that have ever come against Jabari, they don't know that he's not bringing out everything. He's just scratching the surface. So Easter is one of those days, again, just like Christmas. It's one of those days that is really focused primarily on ancient Kemetic ways. The resurrection, Easter is the resurrection holiday of that falls on Sunday after the first full moon following the spring equinox. So again, the relationship between Geb and Ra, the relationship with Geb and Ra. When there's an equinox, equinox means that the sun has equal day on that day as it is night. So there's 12 hours of day, 12 hours of night. On that day, we call it the equinox. It happens twice a year. But because of the equinox, that next Sunday after the full moon, we celebrate Easter. That's the reason why Easter moves, because you have to wait for the equinox, then you have to wait for the full moon, and then that Sunday, that's Easter Sunday, right? So this is an astrological holiday. A lot of people don't know it. They just say, hey, it's a resurrection of Christ. No, it's a resurrection of Asar Haru, right? That's exactly what we're talking about, just like the solstice. That's all I really wanted to share. I appreciate the time. And if you have any questions, let me know.
That's it, brother.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so for the family, if y'all have any questions, this is the time. Come on in, ask your question, turn on your camera, let's get it in. Let's get it in if y'all have any questions, y'all. Come on in, don't be afraid. It's all right. Come on in, ask some questions. Where the people at? Where my people at? That's come on now. See, if they was passing out my notifications, we'd have people in here that's not afraid to jump in. But they don't even know I'm live right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because they blocking my notifications. So I need the people to come on in.
So when you gonna send me those pictures? You came out here.
Which
You came.
oh, the ones? Okay. All right. We got our brother Dr. Daniel LaRoche in the building. What's up, Dr. Daniel?
Hey, peace. Peace,
Peace,
Anetta.
peace.
Peace, Tahuti. I enjoyed your presentation. Congratulations. Thank you very much. My question for you is not so much about your talk, but your perspective and thoughts about what's going on with the war in Israel. It's off topic, and I wanted to engage with you a little bit of a discussion about where we need to go as a community. And just wanted to tap into your thoughts about what your thoughts were about the war in Israel.
Well, the land of Israel has more wars than any other land on the face of this planet, and that will continue to happen. That's something that's like death and taxes because of the location of this place. Now, I don't really delve too deep into Israel. That's more of a sacred land for another people. So I don't really invest a lot of time in there, but war is war. The location itself is not a special location for me personally on a personal level. And they've always been at war. So that's something that unfortunately is a norm.
Okay. My thoughts, just to share with you, you could, bounce it off. We just have to have a little conversation. Is that, the Jewish people, a lot of their information comes from Kemet.
This is true.
So they have some overlap. Okay. In the Purdom Hebrew, it says, annihilate your enemies. Okay. And it seems like the Jewish people look at the Palestinians and the Arabs as their enemies. And that's why they're taking such an aggressive stance against them and not really interested in having a two-state solution. For example, with Hamas was in part a creation from Israel. I remember when Yasser Arafat was trying to negotiate a two-state solution many, many years ago. Israel gave money to Hamas to undermine Arafat and create division in the Palestinian population to squash the two-state solution. And so because they never were able to achieve that, you had this persistent occupation that
Yeah.
takes place because their goal is to really just take over the land based on the mythology of the Bible, saying that it's their land and they're stuck on that and they want to do that. And I think that that's what's going to eventually happen. And to create a Jewish state and just get rid of everyone that's non-Jewish. The thing is, what can Africa learn and what can Africans learn from this?
Well, what I want to say is that we have these events going on in Africa as well, right? Just what was it, 2 weeks ago when the nation of Nigeria was ran off. They ran off the British and their conquest by the people. So the Middle East is more populous, more famous. But we have these things happening in Africa as well. I was actually on a live Zoom before that happened, discussing the plans of what they were getting into, and I was amazed to see it actually transpire within 2 or 3 days, right? So it's not really my area of expertise. War is not really good for anyone, right? But there are certain events that's happening within the continent as well. And I do see the Middle East as being on the continent of Africa. It is unfortunately in a really bad place, and wars are going to continue to happen there. How does that affect me? What can I learn from it? What can Africa learn from it? Um, we need to understand where our power is. We need to understand what our assets are, and that we are being robbed for our assets, right? We need to understand that we need to stop allowing these things to happen. And we're taking steps, like I said, in Nigeria just 2 weeks ago. We are taking steps towards that.
Okay. Yeah, my thinking about this, just to, it's like I said, we're having a conversation, is that I think we have to return back to our traditions like Ma'at, Ifa, Voodoo, the African traditions. The reason for that, because Abraham is a mythological character with no evidence. I think you mentioned that in your talk. And so Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are all based on that figure of this mythology of Abraham. And it's all this creation around that. And all of those traditions have been very anti. If you look at North Africa, there's a lot of colonizations from Egypt, Libya, Algeria, Morocco, and they had a scorched earth policy in how they've stolen that land from Africans. And Christianity in the southern part of Africa, when you talk about South Africa, Rhodesia, the various countries down there. And I think we have to, as a people, both Africans and African diaspora, turn to the traditions of Ma'at, Ifa, Voodoo, and really work to arm ourselves and to keep the land that we have, keep the resources that we have, because we're very wealthy with land and resources, and everybody else wants to come into that territory and exploit that in our culture. And so I think that what we have to learn from this, in my opinion, this is my opinion, and open the debate, is that what we have to learn from this is that if we don't return to our traditions, relearn our traditions, keep up our traditions, defend our traditions with arms, we're going to be next in terms of the people of Israel, Christians, and Islam. That's my thinking from looking at all what's going on over
When you say we gonna be next, who is the we?
there. Well, Israel is taking over that land there, okay, and I could easily foresee them next trying to move into Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, and then eventually move into Africa. The Arabs are trying to move into the doggone Mali and the Sahel right now. The doggone people are, trying to defend their land, and the Arabs and the Muslims, the jihadists, they're trying to move further south into Africa. So I'm talking about Africans, um, and in particular, and people in diaspora. Right now in America, blacks are disproportionately incarcerated in jail. Americans have the most people in prison. And just like Israel, Israel has one of the largest open air prisons in Gaza. That's been described as an open air prison in Gaza. And they're following the same formula, because being black in Israel is not an easy thing. There's a lot of anti-African, anti-black behavior in Israel, like there is in America. It was interesting when I was watching Secretary Austin and the African American woman ambassador to the United Nations, really standing side by Israel and defending Israel. And I was looking at them. I'm like, you couldn't even be in your position that you are if you were living in Israel right now. You wouldn't have those opportunities. You would not that type of equality in terms of being able to achieve what you achieve. And they don't talk about this. It's not talked about. And so even myself, I don't think I could achieve, my level of education and accomplishments in that respect, because they're trying to deport Africans. They're even trying to remove citizenship from Africans in Dimona that are, black Israelites in that respect. So this is what we're up against. I think we have to learn from this and really, learn to our traditions, really secure our family, our communities, the land, and arms, because there's nothing to say that we're not going to be next down the line. And that could be like decades from now, hundreds of years from now, but this ongoing, that's my thought.
I hear you, brother, Dr. Daniel. Hear you. Son Chow, you want to say something, brother?
Okay, thank you. Peace, gentlemen.
Peace, brother. Dr. Dan.
Yeah. Thank you, Brother Senator, for allowing me in. And peace to you, brother. Brother Tahuti, peace.
Yes,
You can hear me okay?
yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions I'd like to ask. With the similarities between Christianity and Kemetic theology, if a Christian were to ask, since Christianity is just a copy of the Kemetic theology, then I'll just remain a Christian. And in effect, I'll be both. So what you're doing as far as showing the similarities may not deter someone from continuing to be a Christian. What would be your response if you would, in fact, prefer that someone choose Christianity, the Kemetic theology over Christianity? What would you say to that person that makes the difference?
So a person that's going to bring up a question like that has probably already made up their mind, right? But what I would do is I'll just bring forth the truth. I'm not really the type of person who's looking to persuade anyone in any direction. I'm more of a, let me just show you the facts. And if you choose that, hey, the facts are similar enough for me to go in this direction, I'm totally fine. It's not going to affect me in any way. However, it will be nice if more people did just look at facts and understand the truth of the facts within themselves. But let's say I was having this conversation with a Christian. He does bring up something like that. I might go ahead and say, hey, let's look at the versions and let's see the differences between the versions of the stories. Like we have a story of Adam and Eve, right? We have the story where Eve comes from Adam's rib, and then later on she gives Adam the fruit of knowledge, and they are cursed because she gives Adam this fruit of knowledge. Okay, well that's King James. What does it say in the Medu Neter? Well, in the Medu Neter, we're discussing a ceremony, and in this ceremony, when the Pharaoh comes into power, there's a ceremony where he receives the knowledge to run the country. And he receives that knowledge from the woman in the form of a fruit, right? The fruit of life. So we can understand that this story, you're supposed to receive knowledge. Knowledge is not a bad thing. The only sin that anyone could have ever committed in the Bible from original was to receive knowledge. So any book that makes that its number one sin, you want to think about, do you want to actually go in that route? This book tells you do not study. I showed it in the slides. It tells you do not study the ancient ways, the African ways, and we see that they progressed. They had a great country. They ran. It's the most successful country that's ever been in existence. When I say most successful, what I mean is they ran for 3,000 years, right? There's been no nation to run that long. They've only been gone for 2,000 years, so they ran longer than the distance that they've been gone. America's been here for 500 years. So the most successful land and culture, the Bible says, do not copy them. And in fact, it punishes you to learn. It says, hey, the knowledge is the only sin. Adam and Eve could have done anything in the universe as long as they didn't receive that knowledge of good and evil. They could have done anything. Everything was permissible except for having that knowledge. So that might be something I'll tell them, but there's a million different ways I'll go about it, and that's only if I think that they're really trying to listen. But to be honest, I would think that if someone's going to come at you in that direction, they've probably already made up their mind. And to be honest, I haven't seen one person truly change something that resonates within them. It's something that's fundamental, and they build all other concepts on those precepts.
Okay, and thank you. And my second question, I've asked this of other Kemetic practitioners. I'd like to get your take on it as well. I've read where Brother John G. Jackson, if you're familiar with who that is, are you familiar with John G. Jackson, brother?
Yes.
Good. I came past a video of his on YouTube where he mentioned Kemetic and African spirituality in general as what he called atheistic religions. That is, since they were focused on nature and mythology and based in mythology, that they did not necessarily have a divine that is somewhere outside of us. And I would ask to get your opinion on whether this is a fair equation or a fair analysis of African spirituality.
Is there a divinity outside of our physical selves?
Right. Is being defined as an atheistic religion, is that a fair analysis of Kemetic or African spirituality in general?
Okay, so the word atheist itself is a derogatory word, right? I look at it as something that's derogatory. But they create their own definitions, so they can paint us in any box that they choose to by changing the definitions of words, right? Paganism, atheist, these are derogatory terms that creates these certain boundaries, and you're supposed to fit yourself within their worldview. So I'm going to say that's shenanigans off top. That's an unfair practice. Do Kemetic people believe in something external? There's a lot of different ways of looking at that. Nature is something that I will say is external, but there's philosophies that says that all of nature is within me, and there may not be an existing external environment. Everything that I see, my arms and my legs, can be a projection of my own internal self. There's no way for us to, at this point, as far as I know, there's no way for us to scientifically analyze, is the universe external from my own consciousness? So if you made that determination, it didn't make that determination through science, you didn't make that determination through experimentation, you made that determination just from faith itself. That's all it is, right? So it's a belief that there is an external environment which will allow us to have a spiritual being external from us. But at this point, I don't think we have the technology to make that determination. In an ancient Kemetic culture, we called the highest self Amen, Amen Ra. That's the hitting. That means we don't have the science to address it. If we didn't have the science to address it then, we don't have the science to address it now. It's still a hidden creator. We understand that there's a creation, but what created it is still outside of our range to actually do experimentations or anything along those lines. So for them to call us atheists as if they've made some kind of determination scientifically, or that's just their faith. And I don't fall into the category of allowing them to box me in that way.
Okay. And if we were to define atheism as a being or mind that exists outside of space, matter, and time, would you consider yourself, by that definition, an atheist or no?
You said a belief in a being outside of space and time.
Yes, and matter.
Again, that's not something that we can determine. I live within space and time. I live as a matter, as a being of matter. We don't have the tools at this point. I've never seen the tools to determine anything outside of that. So the question is really invalid. The question doesn't really have an answer, and no one on this planet can answer that question. So we're just talking about faith. What the question really resolves to: do you have faith in something that you can't see? That's really what the question is. And I have faith in a lot of things that I can't see.
Well, from the intelligent design framework, using the Big Bang methodology, the argument is that once we get to a singularity, that something outside of space, matter, and time caused the universe to expand. And from the intelligent design framework, that something that caused the universe to come from nothing would have to exist outside of space, matter, and time. And it has to be a mind, because there's intelligence behind in the universe. So that's where the science can be attributed to the idea of a being outside of space and time. And in fact, the intelligent design framework does frame that scientifically. What do you think of that?
Some of the terms that you used, I wouldn't use those terms, and some of the concepts that you said may not be 100% correct. I agree with the direction that you're taking.
What terms are you using? Are you saying I shouldn't use?
You said that basically scientifically, when you get to the singularity of the Big Bang, that whatever created that has to be out of space, out of time and space. That's an assertion that's incorrect. But I'll definitely address that. I just want to show you this book that I'm holding up. This book is Quantum Philosophy. It's a book that I wrote myself. It's published. You can get it anywhere. It's Quantum Philosophy, Meanings, Answers, and Promises. It really talks about what this conversation is, the conversation that you're bringing up as far as quantum theories of the creation of the universe. You can get it at Amazon's, Barnes and Nobles. You can go online and you can purchase it. I do like the direction that you're taking it, but sometimes we use words that we've heard before, and it sounds like it's conclusive, but it's not. So the Big Bang Theory has a lot of solutions to it that doesn't need something outside of time and space. We have particles that we know does come into existence and disappear. One of the theories and philosophies in reference to the Big Bang is it was one of these particles that comes into existence. It's called a virtual particle. It'll come into existence and it will disappear. And they're basically saying that there's a evolution of, well, let's put it this way. We get to the singularity. So you have a lot of entropy, and then entropy reduces, and then you have a singularity. From that singularity, it creates another Big Bang. Reduces, and this is a cycle, right? It's a cycle that has always existed, of the explosion back to reducing, to the explosion, back to reducing. Another philosophical thought in reference to that, which is not well. Since we're discussing Kemet, let's tie it back into Kemet. But there's other philosophies that also describes and answers that without having to be outside of time and space. But what I do want to do is bring it back to the Kemetic legacy, because we have the mythology of it's a Memphite mythology. Memphite is the Greeks that came in and they basically put together our scripts and our writings, and they made a linear mythology, and it talks about Ptah creating himself out of pure will, right? And then from Ptah creates Shu and Tefnut. From Shu and Tefnut, they create Geb. What I want to explain in reference to this philosophy or mythology is that Ptah, pure will, right? He creates Shu and Tefnut. So we're talking about moisture. Well, we're talking about gases first. Shu is gas, and Tefnut is moisture. Tefnut and moisture and gases come together to create Geb, which is the earth. When you look at the Big Bang, it follows the same trajectory, exactly the same. You have the explosion. The universe at that point is really, really hot, so all that can exist is gas. It has to be in a gaseous state. So that's Shu. That tracks with the Kemetic mythology. From the gases, it cools off to become more plasma or liquid. So that follows.
Uh-oh.
So that follows. And from Shu and Tefnut creates Geb. So the process, I just want to say shout out to brother Reggie Mayberry. So that process tracks from the Memphite story and the Big Bang. They are linear concepts. They follow the same trajectory. But that's all I wanted to say in reference to that. You're asking, do we know things are out of space and time when there's no way for us to have a perspective out of space and time to get there? So no one knows the answer to that.
Okay. I've also seen similarities being drawn between the Kemetic creation story and the biblical creation story. Would you draw those similarities as well?
The biblical, so there's a couple of biblical creations. Adam seems to be born a few times in the Bible.
No, I mean of the cosmos.
Oh, you're saying from Genesis
yeah,
1:1.
Right, where you just drew a reference to the Big Bang.
Yes.
Would you draw a reference with Kemetic theology or creation with the biblical story of creation?
You can. It doesn't align as clearly, but there can be a connection because the creation story of the Kemetic creation story does start off with waters that's undefined, right? It starts off with the new, which is water that's undefined. All the energy of the universe in the Bible also starts off with the earth being void and without form, right? And then you see the God's face across the deep. So we understand he's talking about a fluid, that he's going to create everything from this fluid. And the same thing is true within the Memphite creation story. So you can draw those lines.
Yeah, I've seen the reference or the yeah, I've seen the similarity drawn further with I believe it's Newt. I'm not sure which one. The with the figure of the woman going across the cosmos and the sun going over her or through her body. Can you tell me who that is?
That's Nut. That's Newt.
That's Newt, and the reference being drawn to the biblical creation of the waters above Newt. That there was a firmament created to divide the waters above Newt and the waters below Newt, and then the earth, the creation of the earth as well. Do you see the similarity I'm drawing?
I see the similarity that you're drawing, and you can make those similarities. And I have heard of Newt being referred to as a firmament. Normally, that's talking about people that talk about that is going to be like flat earthers and things like that. You can draw those conclusions, but when I see
No, actually, not to cut you off, brother, but the person who was a proponent of that was a theistic evolutionist. So they were they did believe in a round earth,
yeah, he just cut out.
Yeah. Well, I have a question for you.
Uh-oh.
No,
Don't
no,
do me too bad here. Hold on.
no, I'm not going to do you bad. But let's just start here. Why do we even have to compare Africa with the Bible? Why is that even important? Why? Because to me, that brings people, it justifies the Bible and it justifies the books that come after that. And according to their story, they had a relationship with the African, and then they have their own thing, right? And so syncretism, they borrowed, right? They attributed things to the glory of God or Yahweh and the glory of Jesus Christ. Brother, why do we even have to? Uh, why do we even have to have our people think like that and draw those comparisons? Because it just basically for African people, it leads them right into the Bible. So I don't try to make those comparisons, even with the Greek directly. I just try to say what African philosophy is. So my question to you is, I see you do you've done a lot of work and you made it good, but that makes me a Kemetic Christian. If there's such,
So for me, we're all here. We all have different assignments, right? I haven't seen anyone change their stripes myself. I don't see that too frequently. Information is really probably not the guiding thing that people rely on when they're trying to depend on what they're going to do as far as their culture. A lot of it is environment. A lot of it is what they have accessible to them and what they believe is going to give them the best opportunities in their life. So if you're in United States, a lot of us are Christians because the opportunities that Christians have and to be in communion with other Christians, right? Now, does comparing the truth with something that's false drive one in one direction or not another?
yeah, it
For
does.
me personally, my loyalty is the truth. If I found out that Kemet or ancient history was not the truth, I wouldn't hesitate to follow a different direction. Not for one instant, because my loyalty is only to truth, right? The more I learn that I'm incorrect, the closer to truth I become. So
Okay.
what it's
So
perspective.
question. So
Hey,
question.
hey, hold on, Reggie, because I definitely want to chime in on that as well. And I would say it is very important, my brother, Dr. Reggie, because if we don't do that, we can see that they steal everything from us, our culture. It will just simply go under the rug. Our babies wouldn't know about Kemet. Our children wouldn't know where it come from. Just like they stole hip hop, just like they stole music, our jazz. They steal everything from the graffiti, you name it. And so if we don't show the people where it all come from, then what do we got? Our children is like, yo, what do we got? Everybody else created this. What the hell have we created? And so when we go into showing them that you are, our ancestors are the mothers and fathers of all creation. All religion that you see today come from where? Come right up out of Kemet. It was ours first. So it's important for us to do that. Just like the Jews, they believe it's important every time to make sure they go and document their story. Only when it comes to us, not saying you, Reggie, because you don't do that, but when it comes to us, we don't want to think that that's important for us to document our story. We have to document our story, like my brother Ngozi. I asked him, if you take Kemet away from us, brother, what the hell do we got left?
We got a lot left. We got a lot left, to be honest. There's a lot of nations, African nations.
Yes.
We've been doing our things from the beginning. So
I disagree. I disagree.
Go ahead. Why you
disagree?
disagree?
The reason why I disagree is because when they teach the Torah and the Tanakh, they don't care about anything else. They don't compare it with Egypt. They don't compare it with Christianity. They just teach the Torah and the Tanakh. When we teach an African philosophy, it's just best to teach an African philosophy. And then when people compare it, we say, yeah, that's what they're doing. But it's better for us to learn the basics. And the way that we teach it is that we teach it, and we teach it with the language. We teach it with the text so that people should know the text. But if you don't teach it that way, then people still refer to Psalms, Proverbs. They won't know the information. For people like you, Tahuti, and others like you, right? These are things that you, as a teacher, if you have to correct someone, you would correct someone and say, no, they probably got it from here. But I would think that we would best teach it. The other thing is, Tahuti, I don't know with what you are in the faith, in the belief, right? Yes or no? You are you in the let's say the word, I don't use the word spirituality. Are you in a belief system of ancient Egypt? Yes or no?
When I deal with belief, I'm going to say I subscribe to an African spiritual system.
Okay, good. Do you do the rituals?
I do many rituals, yes.
What rituals do you do?
We do opening of the way. We have
what?
Yeah.
What's the opening of the way?
What's the opening of the way?
Don't do this, brother Reggie. Opening of the way is, brother.
When is the opening of the way?
Come on, Reggie.
Okay, so you know what? I'll touch on it. I'll still touch on it.
Ask me to come on. You called me on my phone. Yeah, no, I can get off, but you called me on my phone. What is the opening of the way? Say what, sir?
I said I called you to add on to him, not to beat him up, man. Don't try to.
No, you told me that in the beginning.
This is what I'll say. Listen, I'll answer the question.
You know what the opening.
He knows what the. Okay, I'm gonna answer the question.
No, I do not know what the opening of the way is.
I got it. Okay.
I want to check. So, what is the opening of the way?
Doing this. Did you watch my full presentation?
No, I'm asking you now.
Okay. Now, the only reason why I'm asking you that is because I actually got into what the opening of the way is in the presentation.
Tell me right now. It's real short. What is it?
Will do.
What's
the opening of the way is the way we in the Shrine of Ma'at identify the universe as being part of us. That's what it is. We are one with the universe, and there's a certain ritual that we undergo.
What's the ritual?
Well, we stand. And we go into all four cardinal points, and we call upon the Neteru, and we say that Neteru is what is us. And that's basically all it is.
Okay. Have you read the text?
Have I read like a definition type of the text?
Yeah. So
I've read the ritual practice. I don't know that there's an actual text.
So you do you mention Duamatef, Kabesina, Happy?
Yes.
Right. You mentioned those, right?
This is correct.
Okay,
Sonetta, can you get this guy? Grab it.
So you mentioned four sons of Horus, right?
Okay.
Right. The four sons of Horus, right? You do know that that's a funeral text.
Okay.
So your opening of the way is a So okay. See, y'all cheating. You cheated. Y'all cheating. What do you want me to do? You want me to answer the call? Look, I'm gonna get off the line. I'm
Get this guy off of the
You're
screen.
asking me, wait, side. You're asking me to build with him, but you're asking me to go with him, right? There's two different things. I just wanted to make
No,
sure.
no, I'm asking you not to bang or to go
I'm
against me.
not banging on him. It's
The brother's
information.
he's a new
Listen.
brother to the channel, and he want to bring the information, brother. We
This
know
is what I
you.
will
We
do.
know you're Dr. Reggie. We all
No.
know that you
This
are
is-
Dr. Reggie.
This is
But
what I'll do.
add on to the young brother, Reggie. Add on, help the brother.
No, I can't
This is
add.
this is what I'll do. I will
Yes.
definitely acknowledge that Dr. Reggie,
Brother Reggie.
Brother
Dr.
Reggie,
John never can call me Dr. Reggie. Brother Reggie.
okay,
Yeah.
Brother Reggie, is one of the foremost people in this understanding of the Kemetic legacy. So I definitely would appeal to his knowledge and his understanding when it comes to the legacy and the information. He's someone that I definitely honor and have the utmost respect to, and I would never really compete
No,
against.
I respect you. You are shrewd, boy. Jabari has taught you well. The shrine has taught you well. Okay, so what I can tell you what I know. This is what I can tell you. Look at Sonetta, right? Okay, so the opening of the way is the wet while wet, right?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, and that's one version. The one version is when you actually it's the opening away to the after.
Don't have me call Jabari Reggie, man. Come on now. Don't have me do this.
Yeah, it's the opening of the way. Oh, you have Asam Ka, and he might be better because he's actually also a Kemetic priest. Asam Ka. He's a Kemetic priest. But the opening of the way has two parts to it, right? One is one for the deceased to welcome them into the afterlife. And that's when you're calling Kabesaneth and Happy and Dua Mataf and the other son, right? It just escapes me. That is when the person is transitioning. And you see that in the coffin text. So the coffin text, that's actually where the ritual lived, on the coffin text. And then you find it later in Tutankhamun's treasures. But it began as a coffin text. The other part is what you do, the morning rituals, right? And so Kalam was there somewhere too. But you do the morning rituals and then you do the evening rituals. Those are the life rituals. They have nothing to do with that, and they have nothing to do with the cardinal points. So when you read the first part of the Book of the Dead, Ubin Ra, Kefet in Aket, right? When you read that, it says Ra rises. Ra rises. Basically, it's the whole text. I didn't say it completely right, but I can read it. Basically, Ra rises in the east and sets in the west, right? That's part of what you call the morning ritual, which we know it's in the morning ritual because it's actually in the book. This is what humans do to say, wow, time starts my day when the sun rises. And then I live out my day in a value system and a virtue. So I think what you have is an innovation. But let me just stop. Sonetta, great. You got Asam Ka, and you might have Kalam on, right? And I see some more Kemetic practitioners, Sankofa. So you got a good show. Let's get it on, Pop. Let's get it.
On.
All right, hold
Can I
on.
just add one point?
Hold on, Dr. Daniel. Daniel, hold on.
On Reggie's
Daniel,
point, just
hold
about
on.
the Mesa Heru. Just about the Mesa Heru, just real quick. Baba Heru included the Mesa Heru. First of all, peace, Reggie. Baba Heru included the Mesa Heru to remind people about the importance of taking care of your body and the organs. In the canopic jars of Kemetian, Amset, and different canopic jars, for the deceased, they would put their organs in those jars. And it was a very important part of the ceremony. And it was just to remind us to take care of our body. That was the main reason why including it in the opening of the way.
Okay, that is what you've learned. and I respect that, and that's a good teaching. But it's what you said. It's at the funeral stage when those organs are outside your body. I am talking about when the organs are inside your body.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying while the organs, you want to take care of yourself by eating healthy, not drinking, not smoking, taking care of your body, eating, exercising to take care of your body. That's the concept.
Mm-hmm. That's okay. That's the innovation,
Yes.
because the concept is written in the book. It's
Yes.
written in the text.
Yeah.
That's the
No.
concept. The innovation is your particular practice. But we have other Kemetic priests on, and I'm not going to, please don't argue with me. Listen, I respect Baba Heru, Samaj Sepata. I've known him longer than anybody else on this channel, right? I know him. I also knew when Dr. Ben was teaching first, right? So please, 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 please be careful about uh, different stages and different teaching.
All right. Thank you, Reggie.
Okay,
Wait,
please.
no.
Go nowhere, Reggie. You ain't got to go. Let me bring in Revelation X. He was here
What
next.
about Son Kai? He was here.
No, Revelation was here first.
I got time. Yeah, we.
Revelation, what's up, brother? You have any questions, or do
I'm
you
good.
want
I'm
to
good.
add?
Peace and blessings. I actually have some questions for him, brother Tahuti. How you doing, sir? You good?
Good, good. How are you?
I'm good, my brother. Peace and blessings to you. And I just also want to tell you that I respect you because I actually heard you say something that your studies is actually based on the truth. And seeing that it's based on the truth, you wouldn't or you would actually be willing to change your stance. If the truth presented itself and falsehood would vanish from it. So I have some questions for you. The first one would be about the Christmas tree. I don't celebrate it, but I do have kids, so I would still buy the gifts so that they wouldn't, not have gifts when all the other kids have gifts and all of that. In terms of the tree, you said that, well, I believe it's what is it? It's Jeremiah chapter 10, I believe it is, when it said, "Be not like the heathens, and don't cut down the tree from the forest and deck it with silver and gold and all of that." But I always wanted to know who the heathens was. And then I heard you say that the heathens were Egyptians. Now, please correct me if I'm wrong, because my question basically would be, if this is true and you maintain that, then why would you even, follow after these people, which was called the heathens? Because I actually thought the heathens were the Christians. I'm just being honest.
No, so in different iterations of the Bible, the word heathens is changed. And in one of the iterations, it actually says Egyptians.
Okay.
So, yeah, they're talking about people outside of the Bible. It says, do not follow after non-Christians is what it's saying. Do not follow after the Egyptians. Do not follow after the Canaanites. That's what that scripture is talking about.
All right. My second question basically would be, I heard you say something that there's no God in Africa. You can correct me, or there was no God in Africa. I'm not sure if it's the concept. And my question basically would be, how would you say something like that when your teacher taught me, Jabari, taught me that Africa always had a concept of the divine. He actually taught me that the first concept of the divine would be the mother or the woman. Please, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. And if so, how come would you say that, Africa had no concept of like a God or a divine?
So I did open up my presentation with the term God. Did you see the beginning of the presentation?
I was kind of in and out, so I probably missed it.
Yeah, so we're talking about definition, right? We're not talking about divinity itself. We're talking about God as being a being, physical or spiritual being, right? So I opened up the presentation explaining that all gods are physical or spiritual beings. Now, if you want to use that term, the concept, the principle of God, and you want to apply that to man, that's fine. I understand where you're coming from, but that does really depreciates the concept that we're discussing, because in that case you can say water, which is definitely divine, is a god, and all other parts and aspects of nature, which is definitely divine, is a god. So we're really talking about language. We're not really talking about the principles or the concepts at that point.
All right, I understand. My last question, basically, with the Adam and Eve theory, you said that the Bible teaches you not to get knowledge. And I can't have a problem with this statement because I know that the Bible actually has a quote that says, "Get wisdom, get knowledge, but within all thy gettings, get
Get
understanding."
understanding, yeah.
Now, all right, now I understand the concept where you're saying that Adam and Eve was not to eat of the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. But don't you think that that was subjected to time? Like God just thought that they weren't ready? Because that's how I always, took the story. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't think that it was subjected to time?
I disagree.
Go ahead.
Now, there's no way for us to really, determine exactly what a fictional character decided to make laws and regulations about. There's because we can't talk to that fictional character.
Okay.
However, I wouldn't say it's in reference to time. I would say maybe that's in reference to um, one is knowledge of good and evil. The other is a different type of knowledge, right? And all things get understanding, right? Not talk about understanding of good and evil. You were never supposed to understand that, right? Not that part. Just in all things besides the one thing that will punish. I'll punish you for. Get understanding in everything else.
I hear you, and I actually agree with you that it would be kind of hard to piece it up without being able to speak to the characters. But if so be the case, then it would be disingenuous to say that the Bible teaches you not to learn, seeing that we don't have the full gist of the story, don't you think?
I would say that the story itself, there's one, only one, a singular
Hmm.
law that can be broken that is going to crash the entire system. There's only one. There's not two. That means that this is a primary focus. So this is not something you can set aside. The one thing that Adam and Eve is not allowed to do is have the knowledge of good and evil.
Yet. I think it's yet. Okay, well, I hear you, brother. But like you said we're really not sure because we don't have the people that we can talk to. Peace and love. I give you respect, and I'll let somebody else jump in, sir.
Brother
Thank you, my
Gideon.
friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Gideon. I said this before. All of us, all of us, including you, Brother Gideon, are pagans according to the Abrahamic faith. If you are part of that and you believe in the book, if you believe in the Quran, if you believe in the Bible, all of us. To the Muslims, you are a pagan if you're not a Muslim. To the Christians, you are a pagan if you're not following their beliefs. To the Hebrew Israelites, you are considered a pagan if you're not a Hebrew Israelite. See? So when Hebrew Israelites run around saying, yeah, that's the pagan, he's a pagan. Well, so are you to the Muslims. Understand that. We are all considered pagans according to one's religion. That's all I'm saying. Let me come to my brother Asar Mk. Peace, brother.
ATE Amenhotep son. ATE Amenhotep son, or Saber. We gotta call you Saber because you big time now to Hootie forever. You, you got the hat in your name. You're eternal now. So when you started to study the astronomy that the ancient Egyptians wrote, uh which Ami Unut or Ami Wenwat, however you like to pronounce it, which one of those did you follow or start to study first?
So most of my studying comes directly from Kemetic Ascension. I was meaning that earlier, which is directly from Jabari Osasi, and I follow the lead that he provides. So I'm not exactly sure which you're talking about or describing.
Okay. So what you want to do, I'm just going to throw some pointers because you are brothers, so I ain't going to, I ain't bending you up, you know.
Right. We uplifting, we teaching each other, man.
That's
That's
right.
what it's about.
You definitely want to go look at Sinmut, because Sinmut has the astronomy on the outside of his tomb. He has the breakdown of the the uh the the Netcharu that make the hours, the 36 that the Nimu, as they call them, beacons, the 36 that divide the sky, those different things. So you know how we came up with 360 days and what have you. So you can actually use the math and the science to break these things down. Have you read Laden Papyrus 350 yet?
I don't believe so.
That's what you definitely need in order to describe what you're breaking down. Because you mentioned the Kenemu, right? The Agdad.
Write that down, brother Tahuti, what he just said, so you can go check it out.
When you describe the Agdad as the manifestation of 8, do you know how they first formulate? You could say no if you don't know. It's okay.
So you're asking about the Agdad,
right?
The primary 8, and you asked me, do I know how they first came into form?
Yeah, like when they tell you in chapter 80 of that particular papyrus, they say the 8
yeah,
were your first
I've
manifestation.
likely not read that particular papyrus. Okay, go ahead.
Right. So definitely pick up Laden Papyrus 1-350. This way, when you start to break down the sky and you start to break down how it actually comes into being and what science actually pulls from ancient Egypt, you have your reference points. And so nobody could be like, that's not true. You say, oh, yeah, it's right here. And then there's also scientists who refer to this because this is how they started to break things down.
You know what? I wouldn't mind if you went ahead and, I mean, I don't know how much time we have, but I wouldn't mind if you went ahead and went into it.
Okay. Let's do it a little bit.
So are we able to build on that?
Not yet.
Yeah,
because this is your show. This is your show, right?
Yo, hold on, Reggie. This is his show. And let me ask you.
Yeah, but it is his show, but
hold on, Reggie. Tahuti, do you read the Metal Netter yet?
No.
Okay, you speaking to a brother Asar M. Khan right now who reads the Metal Netter. So I think this brother wouldn't mind, teaching you a little bit. We got Dr. Reggie as well, who read the Metal Netter. And I think you should get into it now at this age that you're in early, because you're gonna
be. Where you at, brother? What state you at?
He in Phoenix.
Oh, you right next door. I'm in Colorado, so yeah.
Okay.
So have you at all taken any Metal Netter?
Yes, I have.
It don't make you a bad guy, Reggie. It don't matter, man. He don't read it.
It don't matter.
Teach the brother. No, I'm saying
don't drive off the lane, Sonetta.
I know where Reggie be going, man. I don't be wanting Reggie to just, be banging on him.
Call me. I wasn't gonna come on, bro.
All right, go ahead, brother. Go ahead, Asar, and then go ahead, Reggie.
Oh yeah. When you start to get to late, just look up Laden Papyrus 350, so you can start to get into this stuff where it's it tells you about the divinity, Amun, who comes out of the noon, in the text Ras Deshefu Zimau Im Dechef Netev Pa Im Imi Iwinu Il Dejitu Taten Iref Imin Pre Im Inu Seshum F Heru. So it starts to tell you that.
I mean, it's really a beautiful thing that we have so many people with a lot of knowledge.
Yeah.
And my position here really is to help to galvanize this information and to put it together. We all have a certain amount of information, and by finding a systematic approach where we can actually use this information and put us in a more positive place.
Well, I don't have a problem with. Wait 1 second, Asonka. I don't have a problem with anything that you say. However, the problem is when we can actually we can read it from the text. We don't have to read it in the Meta Netter. But if you know Meta Netter, you can verify at least somebody's not lying to you, that you're not reading a King James book, right? You can verify it, and that's one of the important stages to verifying. But these are African people talking. I think that we can talk in these contexts without ever mentioning anything to do with Hebrew and Christianity and Islam. I don't think that we need to make any comparison. I think that if we thought like Africans, we would be more connected with Africa without the filter of the European. But getting back to this Asar and Ka, right? So wait, do you wait? I just have to check. To who do you do do you have you seen a shrine?
What does that mean? Yes.
Shrine, huh?
Which type of shrine are we talking about?
The only type of shrine, a shrine from Kemet, of one of the Netchers.
Have I been to Kemet to view the shrine?
No.
You see a picture of a shrine in Kemet.
No. This is the thing that I'm talking about, right? So people who actually practice the belief system, right? Normally there is a Netcher that is closest to them. And in the morning, they awaken the Netcher. They feed the Netcher. They wash the Netcher. They dress the Netcher.
7
right?
oils, 12, all that.
They do all of that, right? Have you been part of that process?
Do I address the Netru every morning? No, I do not.
Right. So the ritual, that's the whole part of it. It's
All right, Reggie, stop for 1 minute, brother.
I'm gonna go.
Thank you. Yeah, because we live, man. I don't want you to try.
This guy here.
It don't look right the way, you know.
The question
don't look right. What don't look right?
Student. I'm saying, yo, brother,
Listen.
add on to the bill. Don't try to, make the brother look. We all don't know everything.
I'm
brother.
just asking him questions.
No.
So here's the thing.
No, don't ask him questions. Just teach, brother. Just teach.
I
You could be teaching. Don't try to because he's Jabari's student. Don't do that.
I'm not doing.
Of course, you know more than him, Reggie. We know that. We know that. You've been doing it.
I don't practice it. I'm just
All I'm
asking.
saying is, brother, add on to the brother. The brother's new. He's trying to, add on. That's all. You don't have to ask him questions. I just don't like that,
I thought this was the toughest environment in the world.
It is, but we ain't trying to show each other up. That's all I'm saying, brother.
This is what I like to say.
That's not what we do on that's not what we do.
No, Reggie, you know what I'm talking about because I say he's Jabari's student. Come on.
You keep saying that. I see him as a good brother.
Yes. So just add to the thing. Don't ask the questions. Just add to it. I love you, Reggie. I love you, brother. You're my brother, but I ain't banging on you. I'm saying,
Do me a favor.
Yeah.
Don't on things like this. If you want me to teach and so on, if you don't want me to answer my questions, don't call me. Don't call me because you know what? I have questions. I have my own questions. But I'll listen to a song, Kyle. I'll be quiet.
So here's the thing. This is not my first time on this channel, but I've spoken to Brother Reggie. Brother Reggie knows exactly where I am. He knows exactly where I am, where I'm coming from. And we've made those connections. So he knows where all the bones are buried already off top. Okay. And he's somebody that I really, really respect. So we'll definitely get it in, but now is not the platform, to actually get into extreme details. I did create the presentation, and there's a lot of people on here who wants to express the knowledge that they have, and I respect that. My position here is not to, look at these questions as some kind of a hurdle to get over. I'm at a certain place in my understanding and my knowledge, and I want to continue to grow, and that's totally fine. What are we doing today to push forward, right? What are we doing today to come together with the knowledge that we have, knowing some people are more advanced than others, to actually make a difference, right? To actually come together unified and create something for our people and our future.
Yes, sir.
So
yeah, and with that, let me bring on Brother Sankofa. Sankofa, go ahead, brother.
Yo, peace to the panel. Love. Hey, Brother Sanette, how's everything?
Everything good.
Brother Tahuti, man, great presentation. Listening to it, it was reminding me kind of almost like a Tony Browder approach. Tony Browder a long time ago, he did a similar breakdown of Avatar. It was pretty dope. Good job, brother. I really have one question for you, and it's really about your journey. Like, what was your orientation towards Africa before meeting with and studying with Jabari, and now what is your orientation to Africa after learning from Jabari, so on and so forth?
Good question. I appreciate that. I've seen your presentations on here as well, so I definitely respect you and your knowledge. Um, I couldn't say that there was a huge difference in my journey. I've always been open and to receiving information from my highest self, our ancestors. I've always been open to it, even as a Christian. Christianity never resonated with me. Even as a Christian practitioner, it never resonated with me. um, so I've always been in tune with the things that Jabari was saying and speaking about. I very first got exposed to the culture through Dr. Ben, watching Dr. Ben. And then I ran across Jabari within like a year after that point. Um, but as far as the trajectory, I've always been African, right? I've always been African centered. There's a lot of aspects of the culture that is a learned behavior, nurture versus nature. My nature has always been African. And, we still have to process the language. We still have a lot of different barriers. Progress is a process. And my dedication is to continue to go through that process, to grow through that process, and to give exposure to more people and help our elders. When I see people like Brother Reggie, I see somebody that I think needs to be given the exposure to many people. I've never met Asar M. Ka. He seems like he's very intelligent. He seems like he knows his stuff. And my whole thing and my whole goal as Jati of the Shrine of Ma'at will be to take the richness that these people have and that they've studied and to give them the exposure so that we can continue to grow as a culture.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. One more question, I guess. Um, how do you think in your approach and then your walk with this information, how can this information push our people forward? Just from where we're at as far as socially, politically, historically, educationally. How can this information, somebody knowing what you know, knowing what you've presented, how can this benefit a person in their life and in their journey and in their growth?
So people are finicky things. I was talking to Brother Reggie about information changing people's perspective. That doesn't happen a lot. A lot of times, what changes people's perspective is opportunity given. So we might have all the information in the world, but if we don't provide, then it's not really going to give as big of an impact on people. And that's why I'm saying that we need to have a systematic approach so we can provide not just information, but opportunity, right? Once the opportunities are there, then people are more inclined to understand and to follow the information. But the information itself is just not enough.
All right,
Great.
peace.
All right. Anybody? Revelation, you want to come back? Sunchild, you ready? Got another question?
I do. Thank you, Senator. I'd like to ask Brother Asar Kimrak a question as well. After I ask Brother Tahuti a question, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Brother Tahuti. The last program Brother Sanetta showed of you, you mentioned that you had a problem with the words God and deity. I'm familiar with the issue with the word God as far as deriving from the name Odin or Woden and Godan being shortened to God. And I was wondering, what were your hangups with the word deity?
It's only that the word deity is a similar word that is associated with the word God. Some of these words we have connotations to, right? It's not just etymology, but when we say these words, how do people receive them? And the word God, even though it hasn't really been proven, but it's an issue with the etymology. it still evokes certain thoughts and ideas in other people when you say the word deity. Certain thoughts. So we have to really be clear. Now, I don't have a problem saying divine. Divine is very clear. It's not going to have as many connotations. It's not going to invoke certain things and thoughts in other people. So when I'm saying problem, it's not just the etymology of it; it's the effect it has on someone I'm speaking to.
Okay. Yeah, I do have some sources that support the idea that the word God was put in by the Germanic translations of the Bible,
That's
in the
beautiful.
same sense that the Greeks changed it from Yahweh to Deus, a derivative of Zeus, their deity, and the Germanics changed it to from Deus to God, the name of their deity, Godan or Odin. Um, Another question, if I may, for you, brother. The eye on the dollar bill, is that, in your opinion, a symbolic of the eye of Horus?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yes.
Well, I asked because this deity Godan on the dollar bill, it does say "In God We Trust," and this deity God or Godan or Odin is known as a one-eyed deity. So I'm not sure that I would make that clear distinction with Horus or Heru, and not God or Gadan as well. But that might be just a matter of opinion. And with the pyramid, I'm not sure that I wouldn't say it's a symbolism of the lifestyle or capitalism as a lifestyle of a pyramid where most people are on the bottom and a small percentage on top. But that's a whole nother subject. But
Right.
I
So yeah,
appreciate.
my presentation really didn't get into that. I do disagree with you on what you're saying, but it's only because the influence. We understand that the Kemetic spiritual system and culture was influenced through the Greeks and the Romans. So you still would have to separate the Kemetic influence before saying that the eye is only associated with Thor's father, Godin or Woden, because that was still influenced through Kemet. So you haven't, you just moved the goalpost. That's all you've really done.
Right. And in particular,
You're saying that there is so you're saying there is a connection or a link between the Germanic and the Greek, where the Germans or the Germanics copied Greek. Uh, well, of course there is. I do agree with that as well. So I won't even bother asking that question, and I'll take that question back. Um, so if we're done, if I may ask Brother Asar a question, it'll be the
absolutely.
same question that I asked. It'll be the same question that I asked Brother Tahuti. If you heard, I've asked different practitioners of Kemetic science, and they've given somewhat different answers. And I'll ask it of you as well, and any other Kemetic practitioner if they would like to share their response on. I've seen a video of Brother John G. Jackson where he referred to African spirituality and Kemetic theology as an atheistic religion, in so much as the characters are mythological and only pertaining to nature, but not to, say, a supernatural being as we are used to in European theology. And I
Well,
was
that would,
wondering,
okay.
go ahead. I was just wanted to get your opinion on that and what your idea of the divine is.
Well, that would be more like animism, right? So we know exactly what nature refers to, not in its totality, but the idea. Amen would represent the universe, and anything outside of it is called the hidden. So it goes in depth concerning Amen in the description of what he is and how it expounds on things. Um, and if you go to Plutarch, we get exactly what the Greeks think about the situation, because he says Amun, who is basically the father of Zeus. And you can even see in the coins where they make Amun on one side and Zeus on the other. So we know we got a direct copy from Amen to Zeus in the Greek field. Plus, we got a tax report to see that they played for their gods. And we've got different students from Greece who will testify and say, we learned this from Egypt. Now, when it comes to your particular your God, what or what you believe in, we can go to the Aristeas letters with no trouble. We can also go to the beginning of your Septuagint, because what does it tell us? It says, your God, Yahweh, who is the same as Zeus, and then it refers to the sky. So we know exactly the correlation and how it was put together and who got what first. So Yahweh comes later. A nature is described in the coffin text. It has to do with encompassing all nature. So when it tells you, I urinate, I copulate, I do this, I do that, I'm a nature, we understand that God, or what you would call God, what we call the divine, is in all things. So where our Muslim brothers will say, is God in the doo-doo? They say stuff like that. Then you turn around and you use manure to do what? To cultivate your food, don't you? To do things of that nature. So without the manure, you don't get proper food. So yes, God is in everything to us. What you would term God, but we call it divine. In particular, I'm a Shemsu Asar. So the things that Asar does is what I look after and follow and deify, because what is to be brought out of this is not to be, I'm religious, I'm this or that, but to use the edification of our ancestors to guide us into the future. And so these are the theories through the natural studies. These are the theories in following the ethics of your ancestors. And this is the reason why we implement this into Black folks, so you're not duped by new religions, new ideas, and new thinking that aren't scientific, that aren't based on anything, and really lead to your destruction. They put you as the enemy in pretty much every book.
Okay, yeah. When you said your God and you mentioned Yahweh, referring to me, if you were referring to me, I'm not a proponent of any religion. I'm not. I'm not dogmatic in any way. I do believe in the divine as well, but I'm trying to find my way as far as dogmatically. I was a Christian. I left the church for some of the reasons that we're discussing now, and I'm still trying to find my way spiritually. But I'm not dogmatic in any way currently. Now, I appreciate the answer. I understand that Reggie. I've heard Brother Reggie say that his deity are his mother and his father, and beyond that, I'm not. I don't think that he believes in a somewhat of a supernatural divinity. But if
Well, here's the thing, right? The ancestors don't just extend to you physically, and your parents. They also extend to the things outside of nature that created you, right? So what brought you into existence? The biosphere. The biosphere is what brings us into existence. So we're talking about science. So we're talking about Seb. We're talking about the earth. So the biosphere is what thinks and brings you into existence. Outside of the biosphere, if we go to what we're made out of, which is sun particles, we go to a nebula. A nebula is what births suns. Once suns are born, some grow small, big, tall, whatever the case. They white dwarf out, they explode. Once they explode, those particles spread out. If they land on a planet that's feasible for life like Earth, then the biosphere is going to nurture you and bring you into nature. They consider the sun Ra to be their ancestor, right? That's the godfather of Asar, Aset, Nebuchadnezzar, Set, and El Deheru. And so this is how they see things, and this is how they describe them in the text, where the sun is this to us. Then it goes down to what's on the planet Earth. And they do that all the way to the existence of the universe, which they describe as Amun. So everything is an ancestor to you, and your whole universe begets. So anybody who loses the beget concept, you lose out on actual science because your whole universe creates things. And this is, you have an umbilical cord. So was Saber Reggie incorrect when he shows his umbilical cord, his belly button, which would attach him to his mother? And obviously he's a mixture of sperm and egg cell, which came from his father and mother. That's his creators.
Okay, and if I may, I hope I'm not taking too
So,
much time, but if I may, just
Child, so Sunchild, since you mentioned me, right, and what my belief system is, in the tradition of the Nile Valley, if you read any of the texts, before they get to the afterlife, they have to cry for their mother because their mother creates them. Usually, you see this thing, my mother twice, right? So they have a written form of ancestral worship. Most ancestral worship is not written, but if I go and read from Pepi the First, thou hast received the form of nature, thou became great, therefore therewith before the nature rule, has placed thy mother Nut there to be as a nature to thine enemy in thy name of the in the realm of the nature, the name of the nature, right? So when you read the text a lot, you will find that the mother is always there, and the father. They may deify the mother to Pepe's mother Nut, but they're also talking about his own mother that's deified like Nut. So it's a form. Ancient Egyptians were, or people we call ancient Egyptians, were tribal people, and they did ancestral worship. And this is a very high form of what you call animism.
okay. Thank you, Brother Reggie. And if you don't mind, I'll narrow the question a bit just to make for more clarity for myself for a more clear answer, if I may. Do you believe in a deity that exists outside of space, matter, and time, as proposed by the intelligent design framework? One that exists outside of space, matter, and time, but exists also or pervades space, matter, and time, and yet exists separate from it. Is that a part of the Kemetic framework or no?
It can be. It can be when they have different levels. So they have the natural world, which is the poet, the nine, right? So they have those nine the principles that we hear all the time, like Ra or Atum, and then we have Geb, Shu, Tefnut, right? We have, and then the rest, Seer and his sisters Isis and Nephet, and then we have the old Heru. So we have the natural world, and that's the world that we live in every day. And then they have what Asal was talking about earlier, which is the Kimino. And the Kimino, or the primordial suit. That's Amun, Amunet, Nun, Nunet, Ket, 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 Hey, 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 and other names that they would, as they transitioned in time.
Give
So
them
that
your acronym, Saber. Give them
uh,
your acronym so y'all can know where
no,
y'all
they're
got
gonna
this
laugh. They're gonna
acronym from.
laugh.
I
So
don't
I'm
care
not gonna
what
do
they
that.
say.
I'm not
This
gonna
is the
laugh.
acronym to let you remember. It's called Ankh. Amun, Amunet,
No, no, Nunet, K,
now wet, yeah,
Keket,
Ker,
K,
yeah.
Kehet. So so those are acronyms to help you believe it. And that's when the Africans said, asked the question, well, who created Ra or Atum? Who is Ra and Atum part of something else? And in studying in universe and in philosophy, they came up with four primary materials. And then because of that philosophy was tested, and then we have the atomic structure and we have the quantum structure. But those base thinkings came from the Nile Valley. I'm not saying that the Nile Valley Africans knew quantum physics. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that they seeded the idea. And so when we look at that, that's what it is now. To make it to put create a God concept, that is where we die 1,000 times, because that's not African, right? And putting the word God a singular moment. When the African thought multidimensional, they had so much diversity in their thoughts. Even when they had these big, great thinkings, they had other thinkings in their gnomes, right? That creates thinking and thought. But when you have a mono God concept, that's the at all. You don't think any further when you have one book or two books, right? When you have these books, that's all you stop thinking. The
Catch
Africans
mono.
never stopped thinking, right? They kept asking questions in their tests. But what these other books do is that when there's new information, they try to find ways to put it in their book, right? But there's a big lie. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earths, right? God created the heaven and the earth. All the other stuff that we know about, black holes and the universe at large, right? Comets and meteorites and time itself, right? All of that in the beginning. Watch this. This is what Morpheus. Morpheus is a great thinker. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. So the heaven and the earth must be at the same time as when the universe was created. Ah, that's not scientific. I'll stop.
Well, I've heard that as being scientific, Brother Reggie. Just to mention that same verse, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. In the beginning is time. God created the heaven is space, and God created the earth is matter. So we have the creation of time, space, and matter in
No,
that
it
very
didn't say
same,
all
in
that.
the
But you
very
didn't
same.
listen to what I said. What you tried to do is um, you have your own thoughts. You didn't listen to what I said. But this is
I just thought I would add on to it,
brother
brother. I
Tahuti.
was listening.
Brother Tahuti, listen. This is your show. I'm giving it back to you. Oh, you muted or something.
Well, if you don't mind, I'd like to hear Brother Asar. Thank you for that, Reggie. And if you don't mind, I'd like to hear
First
Brother
of
Asar.
all, brother Sunchild, we answer all your questions all the time. You sent Sonetta a Cash App? Since I a Cash App or Tahuti a Cash App, right? We answer everybody's question at every time, but I'm gonna give it back to my brother Tahuti.
I'm here enjoying myself. I'm listening to your responses. I'm here enjoying myself. Go for it.
Yo, I like to respond to that as well. I think in certain modern African cosmologies, you do have the concept that the creator God created creation and then stepped back. And so then this is why in certain African cosmologies, you have a heightened emphasis upon the ancestors and communication with the ancestors versus like reverence for the most high God. Like the Mpango, you have it in the Yoruba cosmology, you have it in the Akan cosmology. This is in like modern day African spirituality. But I think in Kemetic spirituality, it seemed to be all encompassing because all of creation existed within the noon. The Ogdo, the Noon Nunet, Hu Het, Kuku Ket, Amun Amunet, all of that was those were qualities to describe the existence that existed before existence existed. And then existence began to exist in an emanation format. First comes the so-called Gnostic demiurge to creates creation, and what emerges from that is the other elements of creation. So it's like a differentiation of the one energy into a multiplicity of energies. And so like that would see you don't have the and then you don't have a concept that the divine essence stepped back from creation. The divine essence is continuously involved in creation. And then I wanted to take you to Coffin Text spell 78, where the individual, this is when writing began to be more kind of spread out through Kemet, and it went from the pyramid text and then began to be written in the coffin text on like elites and officials and those other brothers and sisters in Kemetic society that could afford it. These they would have these different spells written on their text, and then in this spell in particular, the individual identifies themselves as the divine essence Shu. And so then there's I think I was looking that up for something, but you don't in Kemet, I don't see the concept of the God stepping outside of creation, but you do see that in certain African cosmologies of modern day.
Well, don't you see it as, let's say, like in Islam, they have the 99 names, right? Those types of concepts were born inside Kemet, where Ra has
75.
right hymns, right names, right for
Asar has
himself,
almost 109.
right.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, so again, it's multi-dimensional thought. So it's breaking it up into nature. Like you look on most of the funerary stones, when you look at the uh, most of the funerary stones, you're going to see the man, and you're going to see his wife, and you're going to have his children, right? And their children. That's what they want to see in the afterlife. They might say, yo, creator, all of that, peace, how you doing? It's not overburdened with that. It's like, yeah, thank you so much, Ra. Thank you so much, right? Thank you for the privilege of life. Can I see my wife, please?
Yes.
Can I see my children again? Right? Like I'm not worshiping you all day. I'm going into the fields, right? Or I'm gonna do my job that I was doing on earth because I love it, and I'm gonna do it in the afterlife, right? Like, thank you. It's not overbearing. And then another thing I want to say real quick, and then I think I'm gonna go. But the only time people really talk about Osir and a set is at the end of their life, right? Is the other text is about other things that's happening. Osir and Aset is almost at the end of the life. You will hear more about Heru because Heru is for the living king. But Osir and Aset, you find most of those texts when you're getting the veil put over you, right, and you're closing your eyes.
Definitely then.
A lot of people try to make like Osir Set is main figures. No, you don't want to deal with Osir. You don't want to deal with Osir until the end of your life. That then to help you make sense of your life afterlife. That's your life afterlife. But your life on the earth, you're dealing with all the other people that we talked about: Shu, Tefnut, Geb, and Nut. You're talking about Ra, Tum. You're talking about Ptah in your life as far as those qualities is concerned. But hey, Tony, it was a pleasure talking to you. If you ever want to talk to me, you can.
Okay.
And if you know some things about the Medu Netter, you can chit chat with me. If you ever come to New York, I'm there. I respect you. It's not what other people are saying, but I'm giving you, watch this. I'm giving you an opportunity to learn from a student of the greats, right? I'm a student of the greats, right? I'm not, and so a direct student of the greats. So I'm giving you an opportunity to get some of your questions answered for your own your own thing. But that's all I can do.
Brother Rezi, I definitely appreciate you. I definitely appreciate the offer, and I definitely will take you up on, reaching out to you and building that relationship.
That's fine. That's all we want. So it's not like what people say. I'm just, there are some questions that, because there's lots of different practitioners. There's, styles. There's Infidisi style. There is Brother Jabari's styles. There's Asar and Ka styles. But ultimately, it's the text. Ultimately, it's the text. So with that
Hey
said,
Reggie, yo
yes.
Reggie, before you leave, bro, much respect to you. Peace to Hootie. I just had a question for you, but I also kind of want Reggie to cover this as well. And my line of question is similar to Sunchild, what he just asked a minute ago. Um, Aside from the Kemetic, because I know the Kemetics have never kind of went in detail about spirit beings. It kind of discounted as Neteru, right? Like just forms of nature. I know that the only teachings that actually cover this is the biblical and the Quranic. In the Quran, it calls like spirit beings like jinn. In the Bible, it calls them angels and demons, right? Simple as that. Have either one of y'all ever experienced in your physical life a supernatural being, a some type of spirit being in your life, just personally? And if
Well,
you have, then what is your resolution to that? How would
okay.
you answer that?
In the Kemet, in the well, it's not all Kemet, it's Tawi, the two lands, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have a concept called the Aku, the enlightened spirit, right? So that's a fusion between the Ka and the Ba. And when you pass the test of a virtuous person, your Makeru, you become an Aku, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you become of the stars, right?
Yeah.
Humans have lots of things that go on in imaginations, but I'm not going to put it on me, you, or anybody else. I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying God, Yahweh, Jesus, he don't, if he, Allah, they don't have to show, he don't have to show himself or through humans because it's all he's, right? Get your butt in Times Square. Being down in Times Square, right? Don't have us imagine why does every time in those books when God didn't help us on those slave ships, that's when we needed him.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah.
He ain't intervened. There was no opening up the goddamn sea, right, to stop them slave ships. That's when he was supposed to be important.
Facts. But look,
If
bro,
he
let
wasn't
me
important
just
then,
stop you. Let me just stop you right there, Reggie, real quick, bro. Not to interrupt
Yeah.
you. But the reason why I asked that is because in my physical life, I have definitely experienced, and nobody talks about this on there because nobody wants to sound pseudo, but I don't care because this is beyond anything you can read in a book or be passed down, you know, just through any kind of literature from any culture. But like I've
Hey,
literally
time out for 1
experienced.
minute, brother. Time out for
Go
1
ahead.
minute. Oh damn, he just jumped off too. All right, go ahead, finish, brother. I was gonna say something to the brother. Go ahead, finish.
Yeah, just in my real life, I've literally experienced like spiritual beings, like physically come in contact with these things, and I don't want to call them anything. I don't know what to call them, but they're definitely present in our realm and around us. And I don't call it God, I don't call it angel, demon, jinn. I don't know what to put on it, what label to put on it, but they are definitely amongst us. And if you've never experienced it, then you kind of can't relate to what I'm saying. But for those who have experienced it, uh, is there some kind of answer for that, like in the African spirituality or in the African cosmology of what that actually is?
All right,
I
hold
mean,
on,
and it's definitely beyond my imagination as well. I can confirm that.
brother Tahuti. Whenever you want to speak, brother, you know this is your show. You can speak anytime, man. Just you could bring up questions or whenever you're ready to get off, let me know so I can let you close this thing out. You know.
Yeah, I'll probably hop off in a little while, but it seems like the question that's being put forth is in reference to something that we're, as far
Yeah,
as
he was asking Reggie. I want. Oh, Reggie got mad or something?
Reggie stepped off. Nah, he said he was
Yeah, I
getting
hope
out.
you didn't get mad at me, man. What the hell?
Nah, he said he was stepping off. He
was smiling, man.
he was
All right.
telling us he was getting off after that one. So
Oh, all right. Go ahead. So finish, Tahuti.
yeah, I mean, brothers are asking tough questions about things that we haven't been able to verify, quantify, in reference to paranormal beings. And is there any connections? What does Kemet say in reference to those type of things? You know, in my studies, you know, I haven't studied any area where we're really talking about, you know, those type of entities. We're really discussing nature and the
Right.
effect that nature has on our spiritual selves, on our mental selves, on our physical selves. So that's the answer as far as Kemet. Now you ask, have I seen anything personally? I've seen a lot of things in my life that doesn't fall into something that I can say I understand it. And the way our minds work is sometimes if we don't understand something, we'll give it some type of a name or we'll define it as something that we've heard before, but that doesn't make it true. Our mind is a very intelligent computer, and we can really imagine what we wish. I know people who are Christians when they swear up and down that there was an experience in their life where Jesus Christ picked them up, took them out of a car, set them on their bed, right? So there's a lot of ways of answering things that we cannot quantify because of our mind and how our mind go for it.
Brother Tootie, They call me on Suntan. What's up to the panel? What's up, Asar?
What's up, Big Suntan?
Suntan,
What's up,
peace.
everybody? I like to say this to you, brother. And this is just my own conjecture, right? I would say what I would elaborate on just what you were saying as far as nature and things like that concerned with Kemet. And when you come to the supernatural thing, like my brother was saying, like he experienced beings and stuff like that. And I want to ask you this question. I think it's a line that you draw with your spirituality because one side is metaphoric and the other side is, the nature part. When it comes to these things that's metaphorically presented or said, that's something personal for that individual. Would you agree with that?
Exactly true.
Yeah.
A lot of times we will deal back with the information that our minds have stored in the background, and we'll use that background knowledge and information and those experiences to relate to what's happening today.
Yeah.
So if we don't understand something, our minds will close those gaps for us.
Yeah. I said that to say this, because I rock with Kemet, right? And I rock with African spirituality, right? And I'm in the rooms with Unc. I'm in the rooms with Smash. I'm in rooms with a lot of different people. So it's a lot of conjecture going back and forth about this and that. And my whole thing to all of this conjecture going back, we are these people and these type of things, is all I got to say to it is that it's a negroid present. We ain't gonna call Egypt black. We just say it's a negroid present, right? Because we got enough common sense to know what our phenotype is. So I'll leave it at that. I ain't gonna say, because I say, and I want everybody to hear this. I seen a funny pseudo killers title up there. They talking about American people thinking that they are Kemet. I'm thinking that they're Egyptian. I ain't heard. If any of y'all heard somebody say that Black Americans from America is Egyptians, let me know, because I ain't heard nobody say that. So they get these things and they flip them and try to make, just because we rock with Kim, and try to make us look like, we go spooky and all these type of things. So I'm gonna leave it at that, man.
I definitely appreciate you. You know what? I'm about ready to close out, Saw. I think this has been a really good presentation. It's been a really good build. We met a few new faces. It's my first time being on here, giving this type of presentation. I've interacted with, Brother Reggie. Brother Reggie is somebody I definitely look up to. As far as his knowledge is concerned, I know he's been, he's gone through a lot. He's an educated man, and I appreciate his knowledge. There's some other brothers on here who I've been seeing on Sonetta, and saw their presentation come forward. And I definitely respect you guys as well. But I think this presentation has been very insightful, and I'm looking forward to doing another one in the future, bringing back some more information. So I'm happy with the outcome here.
Absolutely.
All right.
A pleasure to have you on the platform, to see new brothers, new faces, man. I love when y'all get busy and be in the mix, man. Sai, you mind if I say a couple things real quick and close?
I think Sai muted.
Yeah, all right. So
Say what? Let me let King J in. I don't think King J spoke.
King James said nothing. Yeah.
I didn't say much because I came in at the end. I didn't really get a chance to get a grasp on what
King J, you still ain't investing the mic, huh?
Man, I need to ASAP. But I didn't get a chance to hear what the brothers was building on, so that's why I didn't chime in yet.
Okay. Sankofa, you want to add on some more information?
Yeah, I actually wanted to talk to you. I'm creating a presentation I wanted to ask you to do later on, but this is some of the information in the presentation I was going to say. Like, these are later Egyptian texts, but those entities that we know of as jinn, has angels, has demons, in the Demotic magical papyrus and in the Greco-Egyptian magical papyrus, they're literal spells and formulas that teach you how to, or show you how to contact and control these entities, right? And this practice in and of itself has led to even the modern day practice of magic, which has influenced, like, which has influenced the Masons, which has influenced diasporic religion, African diasporic religions and traditions, and so the concept of contacting entities that are outside of the physical realm is an African concept, and you can at least see its expression in later Egyptian, Greco-Egyptian demotic work. And so exactly what that means and however you want to take that, do what you do with it. But I'm just telling you that the concept of contacting and interacting with, entities that are outside of the physical body is something that is African. It's definitely something that is practiced. If you were to go down to Cuba now and to participate in the Santeria ritual and tradition, you would see this presentation in front of you. If you go into Ghana right now, you go into the Nkonya region in Ghana, you would see this presentation in front of you. So this isn't, that concept is African. If the issue is the ability to validate, verify, repeat the result, and then have everybody else experience the same thing. That's what everybody kind of like disses and comes out against. So that's the one
And
thing. Yeah,
I totally
but
agree with you 100%, bro. How can anybody witness these things and still say that there is no higher power and still just be an atheist flat out?
Yeah.
I think
And
that if you claim to be an atheist, you just never have experienced those types of things or seen them. Because there's no way you could see that and still think, oh, there's no such thing as a
Well,
creator, a higher, whatever you want to call it.
let me tell
It's
you this,
wild.
brother. If you block it out, if you do not accept it in your mind, the mind is a complex um, organism, right? So if you do not accept it, then you can't, partake of it, right? Now, if you are willing participant, then your mind would go the extra mile. So that's what that's all about. You understand? A person can tell you anything he want to tell you, right? But you can tell me what you telling me now. It's up to me to accept it and follow through. That's how strong our minds is. When we sleep, our minds are working. See, you got to understand that. And everybody's religion is their own. It's personal. And you kind of make errors when you try to group of people and control them with a religion. Like, and I'm not bringing on the Hebrews, I'm not banging on nobody, but when you group yourself together and try to push a narrative, then that's when the problem come in. So I'll leave it at that.
so when you talk about the supernatural, and I'll be brief with it, you in ancient Kemet we have the Aku. That means you're an effective being. So you see, when you go study and dig up letters to the dead, so they write a letter to their ancestor asking them for assistance, for help. We do certain prayers and rituals asking to protect babies. What you guys come to know is just christening the babies or kissing the baby, saying the prayer. What you saying a prayer over the baby for if you don't believe that some supernatural power is going to help assist? So they do that. When it comes to harmful beings, they call those mu'it. So the Mu'it tend to attack, and the Mu'it is generally an ancestor who hasn't been properly buried, or ancestor who has a bad lineage that didn't do right in life, etc., etc. So he wasn't praised as he passed. This is how the text speaks on those particular things, without getting too in depth into them. But if you're talking about quantum bodies, which is basically a ghost particle. If we since we got so many atheists in the house, we're talking about a ghost particle. So a particle's over here, a particle's over here, and they're supposed to be together, but they're not. And so in quantum physics, when you look at them, one crashes into the other. And you start to find experiences like this with near death. So people who are supposedly brain dead on the neurological table can tell you the conversations that were happening in rooms over here, happening over here, and what was happening in the room right next to them when they're supposedly brain dead, which scientifically you're not supposed to be able to do. So is there a quantum body? Essentially, yeah. Um, can we contact that quantum body? The ancestors thought so. When we deal with those quantum bodies, do they always answer, not answer, whatever the case? Sometimes, sometimes not. Have I seen a ghost before in my life? No. But has supernatural things happened around me? or exceptional situations, absolutely.
I would say that I would concur. You understand, because it came time when some tragedy kind of happened in my life. You know, when I was younger, 30 years ago, I felt fear, got on my knees, and this on my own spirituality, and things changed. It may have been just through what happened, but I sent those sort of prayers out, and things changed. I was calm, and everything worked out. So that's me. I wouldn't go around preaching that, but it changed for me. Just, I guess it's the power of the mind. So I would agree with you, sir.
Absolutely.
I want to build off of what the brother Assar was speaking on, and touch upon the cultural continuity of African consciousness, right? Because the brother Assar, you said it was these spirits were ancestral spirits that were disgruntled, so on and so forth, right? That's kind of it, right? So a lot of us, the African slave trade began in the Congo. The Portuguese in the Congo started this whole thing off, right? And then in the Congo, a lot of Congolese beliefs, were transported over into the diaspora, right? And in the Congo, you had two concepts, the Nkisi and the Simbi, right? The Nkisi are the disgruntled ancestors that cause problems, and then the Simbi, and then I remember I had a friend when I was younger. His name was Simbi. Like we have these, these cultural connections that follow us, but they're the protective spirits, right? And then even in the Haitian Revolution, you can find the practice of these traditions there. But you have this idea and this concept of supernatural beings that are intertwined with the physical realm. Ani speaks on this a lot in her book Urugu. The African is a participant within the universe, not an objective observer of it. So yeah, you have a lot going on with the African conception of reality, and you do have disembodied beings that are contacted in almost all African traditions. Not all, I'm not going to make that blanket statement, but at least the ones I've studied.
I think that's just a mind thing, brother. So if you, and I'm not knocking, no pushback, but your mind creates these things. So if a person want to do that, fine. But like I said, I would not subscribe to it, because it would bring a chain of people in it subscribing to it, and then it would cause a reaction that, that's how would I say it? It's just not an everyday occurrence of a situation like that. So if somebody want to do that with the rituals, let them go ahead. But I wouldn't subscribe to nothing like that, and that's just my own personal
Some people,
opinion.
All right,
some
so
people are
I think it's
atheists.
about that time. Let's go ahead and get ourselves closed out.
All right. Brother Tahuti forever. Close us out, brother.
Again, I just want to appreciate everybody for coming on, and I want to appreciate you for allowing me on the platform to present that presentation. The information that I presented was really a basic level, and the build here really got more into depth on a lot of the concepts and information in Kemet. And I know this platform normally has a lot of debates, right? But it's good to be around the brothers, the intelligent brothers who actually do the research, and to have these type of builds. And that's why I wanted to continue it for a while. But yep, that's about it. I really appreciate everyone, and hopefully I'm on here again, and definitely invite me back, Sal.
You know it. And I want y'all to be on the lookout, because we got Jabari and Ngozi. Y'all know that's going to be fire right there.
Yes, sir. I gotta be there.
I had them on earlier. If y'all go to, y'all saw it? Y'all saw some of it?
I saw some
I
of it.
missed it.
Yeah, they was
I was
on
watching
earlier.
in Ghana.
Yeah.
Go back and look at it, brother. They was on. And then I have this one right here coming up on the 18th. This right here is going to be fire too.
Right here, the
It's the
ladies.
Dulcinea and the Paul Shaddai, and we're going to be dealing with, are we primates? So Dulcinea is taking the position that we are not primates. Y'all know, y'all heard me. We are
Yeah.
not primates.
Yeah.
And Sister Nepal is saying, no, we are primates. So that it is what it is. That's going to be a good one right there. That's dealing with nothing but science. So
Right.
that turns out.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
All right. So peace to everybody, man. Peace and blessings to you.
Good presentation, brother.
Peace.
Peace.
All right.
better than all consciousness info. Sonetta TV7. He keep it hot 24/7. He got that black Wolf 102. Sonetta TV2. Yeah.
You are now inside Sonetta Studios, the house of consciousness production.